Welcome everyone to another episode of Friday Nights in the Bayou. So, luckily, we were able to get the live stream up this time. There's a lot of issues. The last time we tried to do on Friday, so we had to do a pre-recorded video on Sunday that was released on Monday. It was a crazy weekend. But we're back doing it live. Once again, we'll also have our live nightcap show on Friday, where we're break down all of the games. Jace, of course, will be at Episcopal and Pope John Paul II. That should be a good one. I'm going to be at Lutcher and Cecilia. I think that should be a good one. I think Lutcher will win. However, I think Lutcher will be on upset alert, just given the fact that this will be the best offense they'll play all year. They played best offense they've played up to this point. And so that I think Cecilia will test Lutcher's defense, which has been phenomenal all year, by the way. But anyway, Jace, what's your cover overall thoughts about the second round? What are you most excited for? And, are we going to see some upsets, which I think we are going to see? But what games do you think maybe is an upset alert?
Yeah, Grant, appreciate you having me on, man. It's been fun all year long. And, yeah, this second round, I actually had this conversation after we just finished recording our show. Ball in the boot. I had this conversation with a couple of guys, but these second round matchups usually you have to wait in years past, maybe to like the quarterfinals, semifinals for like these great matchups. But we got them in the second round, so we got some really good matchups in the second round. The game that you're going to, that will be interesting. And like I would say, and I have Letcher as my state champion, but they could for sure be on upset alert against Cecilia because Cecilia's got a lot of weapons offensively. And we talk about, Diesel Solari, Ellis Stewart, Brent Gord. They got a lot of really good weapons, offensively and defensively, on both sides of football. And they just have that speed element, and they can factor in. They play multiple quarterbacks this year, so they can come in with one and then maybe go to another quarterback. Like they want to mix a lot of things up, and that's going to be a great measuring stick of how good this Letcher defense is. I saw them in person. I called their game against E. Dwight for Varsity Sports Now, and I was really impressed with Letcher's defense. But that offense of Cecilia is going to stress them. And this is a team that's been to the Dome. They went to the Dome last year. So this isn't your normal 2 versus 18 seed. In that same bracket, I'll look at Opelousas. I know 3 seed Jennings, and Jennings is a really good football team this year. And I think it's just a bad matchup for them. Like, if it was literally against anybody else, I like Jennings' chances. But it's against Opelousas. And the way they've been playing football, they play their best football this time of year. So that can be another one to keep an eye out for. And, there's going to be some 20 seeds that make a run. I'm going to keep my eye on Walker, too, with the game that they had against Dutchtown. And now they have Southside. And I thought if Southside Dutchtown played, I thought that was going to be a toss-up. But with Walker winning that football game, it's not out of realm of possibility that they can win that football game, too. And they have a coach in Chad Mahaffey that's won state championships before at U High. So he knows what it takes, and he knows what these runs are about. So those are just a couple of games, but we're going to go through the whole brackets and all the second-round matchups, Grant. There are a lot of really good candidates of upset alert here to keep an eye out for. And another one more, because just off the top of my head, after looking at all the brackets, right, keep an eye on Westgate, against Airline as well, because this is an athletic team, and really they got athletic options at wide receiver for Ben Taylor and Airline, but they haven't seen as many as athletic teams, like in the speed and athleticism that Westgate does bring to the table. So I'll be very intrigued about that matchup as well.
Yeah, there's a lot of intriguing matchups, like years past. The second round is really where you start to see, the meat and potatoes start getting thrown into the pot, and there's a lot of upsets. I think there's going to be a lot of upsets that happen. Some are going to be expected, some are not going to be expected. And I think this is the round where you're going to start seeing that. But before we get into the rest of our conversation, breaking down the playoffs, and also we're going to break down some breaking news as well that came through yesterday. I also want to once again. Shared this with y'all. Of course, the show is brought to you by Mid-City Pizza. Mid-City Pizza is some great pizza. It's one of the hottest places right now in New Orleans for pizza. They recently just won a Pizza Madness thing that they won last spring. Now they did some Fox 8 does this Pizza Madness where they like had a bracket. Okay, yeah, like pick the best pizza, like we're doing right now with the playoff brackets. Me, Jace, and a couple of his and his roommate Cameron Cerniglia, and of course his brother Josh LeJeune. We all are doing a bracket challenge for the LHSAA playoffs, but but anyway, but going back to they won the pizza bracket that Fox 8 did, and they beat out some of the more famous places in New Orleans, the New Orleans area. It's a great pizza. Your neighborhood pizza joint's right there, located in Mid-City, in the Mid-City area of New Orleans, right behind Jesuit High School, which we'll actually talk about pretty soon here. Yeah. That's our owner, Anthony Cortello, by the way, just to let you know. Shout out Anthony Cortello. But, they have some great pizzas, as you can see, spicy margarita, meat monsters, classic Sicilian. They have some classic meatballs you can order as well. So a lot of great options. And it's just more than that. They have a lot more food than that as well. They also serve alcohol as well. They're open from 10:30 p.m. To 10:30 a.m. to 10:30 p.m. There are two locations. They have two locations. One on 4400 Bank Street, which that's a location right behind Jesuit, and you can sit down and have drinks and food and whatnot. And then this is their uptown location. If you want to have your pizza delivered, or you want to have more of express takeout, you just want to take it out, you need it at your place. It is located on 6307 South Mirror Street. It is it's actually right across the street from Tulane's baseball stadium, so you can't miss it. So if you want to call in for Mid-City Pizza, 504-483-8609 on the Bank Street location, and on the Uptown locations, 504-509-6224 for the Uptown location. Once again, we're brought to you by Mid-City Pizza, and it's a great pizza. And Jace, maybe if you come down when you come down for the state championships, you need to go, my man.
That's what I'm talking about right now. When I go down to the Dome for Dome weekend, Grant's going to be giving us a tour, and definitely going to be. I'm a pizza guy. I'm a big boy, Grant. So I like to eat. So
me too.
Down there and pizza.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure you got into that from Lee Burkeen, because Lee Burkeen loved to eat, bro.
Yeah, he sure did.
He did, bro. He dude, like his thing, like every time I was like, hey, like I'm gonna pay for this. No, I got it. It's like, okay. Free food, okay. That's on you, okay. Well, I was just like, every single time I pull my card. What's up?
I'm all in for that. Yeah, free food. So that was
every time I was like, hey, Lee, I can pay for my food. You don't have to pay for it. So I got you. I was like, okay, free Italian food. But anyway, I'm not gonna stop you. But anyway, but once again, the show is brought to you by Mid-City Pizza. But now let's break down the brackets. But before we even get to the breakdown of the brackets, of course, I'm Grant Chachere. This is Jace LeJeune of Gridiron Football. In case you guys are just tuning in, but there was a ruling that happened yesterday. There was two rulings, and it impacted two different teams, two different brackets, but two different teams. The first one we're going to talk about is U High. Yeah, two different situations too. So the first one we're going to talk about is U High, because that was the headline, right? So if you remember correctly, so U High got busted. So actually, I got this newspaper article right here. So basically, U High, they got caught with having two ineligible players. The LHSAA came down. The LHSAA investigated. They found out evidence. They punished U High. They had to forfeit all the wins, and they're originally out of the playoffs.
Mm-hmm.
U High tried to appeal it. They lost the appeal. And since U High has a lot of money and a lot of influential people, and a lot of influential people went there, they're able to sue the LHSAA, put up together a lawsuit, and to try to get back the wins. And originally postponed the reveal, the brackets reveal, and everything like that. And so the LHSAA was they're scrambling. So what they did was, okay, U High, We're going to give you back your wins. All right. We're not going to ruin the playoff experience for everybody else because of our situation. So we're going to give you back your wins.
Mm-hmm.
You're going to have a first round bye anyway.
Yeah.
So we'll give you back your wins. We're going to reveal the brackets. You're still going to be in the playoffs. But whatever decision's made on the 18th, you're either going to be out of the playoffs or you're going to be in it. So we're going to wait to the court decision on November 18th, which was yesterday, and the courts ruled in favor of the LHSAA, and U High is out. So I'm going to read this article right here that I got. 4 days before it was set to appear in the playoffs, the season ended for University High's football team inside a Baton Rouge courtroom Monday afternoon. This is from The Advocate, written by Matt Bruce. District Court Judge Ronald Johnson ruled against the school and in favor of the Louisiana High School Athletic Association, which ruled last month that 2 of the Cubs players that transferred from Liberty Magnet High School were ineligible and ordered U High to forfeit 7 of its wins. The court views the interpretation provided by the Louisiana High School Athletic Association that it's reasonable in connection within the rules. LHSAA attorney Mark Boyer said the feeling after the ruling from executive Eddie Bonine was not joyous. 2 kids were impacted by this. I think Eddie's sentiment is that we're sorry this happened. Enforcing the rules is what he is asked to do. It's what we're all asked to do. That is all we are here. That is all we are trying to do. And the ruling brings clarity to and this once again an article written by Matt Bruce for The Advocate. The ruling brings clarity to a playoff that had been thrown into turmoil by the dispute. Last week, U High contested the LHSAA's order and got a temporary restraining order from the courts that kept the sanctions at bay until Monday's hearing inside the 19th Judicial District Courthouse. After initially saying it would delay releasing its playoff brackets, the LHSAA reinstated the victories in lieu of the hearing and put U High on the bracket as number 2 playoff seed in the Division II select playoffs. As the number 2 seed, the Cubs had a first-round bye last Friday, but Monday's ruling flipped the playoff script again. After the ruling, the forfeits were put back in place. U High was moved from the bracket, and his record was changed from 1-10 to include a forfeit in this week's round of the playoffs. Booker T. Washington of New Orleans, the team U High was scheduled to play Friday night, automatically advances to Division II second quarterfinals. Booker T. Washington, a first-round winner over Buckeye, now faces the winner of this week's game between Leesville and Loyola Prep. Because the brackets have already been released and games have been played, U High and Booker T. Washington were the only teams affected in the forfeits. So, and also kind of break this down, Liberty reported the rules violations on October 28th. The school's principal, Chaz Watson, sent LHSAA officials a letter notifying them of a concerning trend of Liberty players transferring to U High, 2 schools in the same attendance zone, without U High sending Liberty a concurrence form to solidify the transfers as required by the LHSAA rules. Watson cited 2 transfers as evidence of the ongoing trend, pointing to a senior on U High's varsity squad who departed Liberty in January 2023 and a junior player who left the magnet school in January early this year. After reviewing the complaint, the LHSAA determined both players were ineligible when they played in 8 games this season. LHSAA officials placed U High and head coach Andy Martin on a year of administrative probation, fined the Cubs, and ordered the school to forfeit the 8 games in which the ineligible students played. Our attorney said U High went to before the LHSAA's executive committee for an emergency appeal hearing on November 17th, and the board upheld the sanctions. The Cubs also lost their Week 9 game to Mazda Prep on November 2nd. So that's kind of what happened with that whole situation. I know I read a long article, and it's much longer to explain, but I had this in front of me. Might as well read it out to kind of break it down a little bit more, because sometimes you can't think of everything on top of your head. Sometimes you may need to look it up. But Jace, I know you're very much in tune with Baton Rouge high school sports. You're from the Baton Rouge area. Yeah. You've been familiar with this UI team for a very long time. You actually have a close relationship with the UI program, and really, and so do I. And it's really And UI got caught breaking the rules. When you get caught breaking the rules, you're going to get punished for it. And rightfully so, they broke the rules. But there's the thing that is like, you can't blame the kids, right? This is on the adults, right? This is on the adults. And this is the adults. This has nothing to do with the kids. The kids want to play football. And I get that they broke the rules, and that's on the kids. That's on the parent. That's on the, maybe the parents involved, maybe not knowing the rules. It's on the coaches. That's on the administration. I mean, there's a lot that plays to transfer to a different school. But Jace, I mean, what are your overall thoughts about this?
Yeah, it's a mess, Grant, and that's what it affects as a kids. I mean that's why I hate it the most. The kids getting involved. You don't want their season to end the way that they did. They're not aware of this. They don't know what's going on. All they know is
Yeah.
their season's over, and
Yeah.
it wasn't even decided on the field. But it's I hate it for the senior class, man, because all they're going to be thinking about is what could have been. Right, because
Yeah.
it's one thing you go and play it out on the football field. You can decide it on the football field and say, "Hey, I gave it my all." Even if you lose, right? You can sleep peacefully at night. It's like, "Hey, I given it my all," and we at least we know okay who was the better team. It was played out on the football field. Now you don't get that situation, but yeah, I mean it's the adults have to be held responsible for it. I mean, that at the end. I mean, when you're a coach, you gotta know all the rules, right? I mean, that's part of it. You gotta know what eligibility, what's right for eligibility, what's right for who can play, what you can sit a year, what you can do, what you have to file, because you have to file a conjunction for Liberty. I mean, Liberty. Let's say Liberty declines it, at least you can let that play out, and you can still win that case, right? But UI didn't do that. And of course, that's breaking the rules. And you can't blame Liberty because you don't want a different school stealing your players. So that's
Exactly.
Liberty's stance, and that's what Liberty want to do is like, hey, we can't allow other schools to come in and steal our guys. So we gotta fight for that too. So I don't blame Liberty for what they've done. They're just saying, hey, like UI was wrong. They're stealing our guys, and they haven't contacted us about it. I mean, if you're UI, you have to go and contact the other school, especially if you're thinking about playing their players. So, and UI didn't do that. So, yeah, I mean, you just hate it for the kids. And LHSAA, I thought they handled the situation as good as they possibly could. With the situation, it's like, hey, we can't let this situation affect all the 300 other schools because that could have been a bad situation too, with all of them getting affected for what? Nothing. I mean, it's only one school that's really doing this, so you're punishing everybody else as well. So, that was kudos for the LHSA realizing, hey, U High has a bye anyway, so like they're not going to be affected anyway. So let them have their bye week. This will be situated on November 18th. Let's just play it as it is, and the court will decide, hey, if U High was in the right, they're going to continue to play. If they're in the wrong, then bye-bye, your season's over. So that's what happened, and now we can move forward. We know what the ruling is now. There was a good chance. We were pretty confident that that's what the ruling was going to be anyway, but still, it's done, it's finished, and now you can move on.
Yeah, I mean, that's a very unfortunate situation over there, UI. UI's going to bounce back. They got a lot of players coming back for next year. So, and like really good, talented young players. But it's just a very unfortunate situation because UI was one of the favorites to play in the Dome along with Shaw. And I think a lot of people were expecting that match in the Dome.
Yeah.
Because those are two of the most talented teams of the state. But unfortunately, that one happened.
That's another
However,
thing.
but also.
But
yeah. And also, another thing, I think that, yeah. Another thing that's really unfortunate, and we didn't bring this up actually too, was that when UI had the forfeit their games that are out of the playoffs originally, Peabody had the 24th spot.
Yep.
And since UI kind of bowled themselves back in the playoffs, it kicked out Peabody. Yeah. Harry Coleman, the head coach of Peabody, who also was a former LSU great as himself as well, he was pretty pissed about it. He was on Facebook. I know he said his piece. And it's just feel bad. Not only feel bad for him, but also feel bad for the kids that are affected as well. Because it didn't just UI didn't just the UI's the whole thing with UI did not affect not only them and the LHSAA. It also affected Peabody, which kicked them out the playoffs, but then it also affected the whole entire state. Yeah, because everyone's concerned. Okay, what's happening? When do the playoffs start? Are we playing the state championship at the Superdome? It also could have ruined a lot of logistics around the state. But enough of the UI stuff, and That's kind of over with, and so we're glad to have some
We're
sort of
back on
normalcy.
track. Same schedule as normal. We're going to have state championship games in the Dome, so that's good. We're back on track. Everything is good. We can move forward.
But then Faraday also had the forfeit their second round game.
Different reason.
So your Faraday was up pretty big. They were up against, I believe. Let me pull up this. They were up against Lake Arthur.
Yeah,
and they're up pretty big against Lake Arthur. They were winning. However, a fight broke out between some of the players from Faraday, and I'm not sure if it's spelled on the field, but I know it was bad enough to the point where the LHSAA had to forfeit they had to call the game a no contest. And Faraday, who's winning the game, if the fight never happened, they would advance the second round where they're going to play Welsh and host Welsh. It's a very good team in their own right. That could have been a good game. And Faraday is a team to watch out for in the future with all the young players they have. But unfortunately, the players got in a fight and they had to forfeit the game. And I think that's also a lesson too, right? And kind of go back to U-High thing also, but the U-High thing, speaking of lessons, a lot of schools are going to do what Liberty did, where they're going to, if they know another school took their players, they're going to hold off as long as possible, try to get them out, kick out the playoffs. So that's the first one. I want to go back to U-High because I forgot to mention that too, as I'm talking about lessons. But the lesson here is for any player that may be watching the show or who will watch the show, either watch the show live or watching the show, when it's already uploaded on YouTube and you go back and watch and blah, blah, blah. If there's any players who are watching this, whatever you do not get in a fight. Because not only is there a chance that you probably will get ejected and be suspended from the next game, but the fight can spill off to your teammates, and then the other team can get involved, and your whole team can be kicked out the playoffs. So this isn't the regular season. This is the playoffs. So make sure you don't fight. Just don't fight. If another guy hits you, just don't leave it alone. The rest will throw a flag and blah, blah. They'll get settled, hopefully. But just don't get involved in fights, because not only will affect your spot for the next game, but also going to affect your team as a whole.
Yeah, you're right, Grant. I mean, it's a message here. You gotta keep your composure, right? And that's it. That's your instance really in anything, in any sport. Being up Faraday, like you have everything to lose. You're up. You're dominating the game. You're up. You're winning. I think 37-7 or 30-7 at that time. Like you're winning the football game. Now Lake Arthur, on the other hand, they can ruin your night. And it's like, oh, well, our night's ruined, but we're going to still make sure that their night is ruined as well. They got nothing to lose. They already know they lost the game. So they're going to do whatever they can to get under your skin. And you got to make sure that you have enough composure where that you don't mess up and you don't start fighting them, because that's the rule. And the rule is, like, if you start fighting and punches being thrown and your teammates coming out to help you out and the whole team leaves the bench area, guess what? Even if you're not even involved with the fight, if you leave the bench area for that, you're suspended. So if everybody leaves the bench, then everybody's suspended and you can't play a game next week with 0 players. So your season's done. And this isn't the first time it's happened. It's happened a couple years ago. I think this was a semifinal game. I think it was a quarterfinal semifinal game. A-Meat was involved, and there were a couple of teams involved. And I remember St. James just had a bye to the state championship game. I think this happened a couple. I know you'll probably research it. This happened a couple years ago. But like it's happened before. You would think that they would have like gain your composure and keep your composure when things are going wrong, but hey, you gotta keep your cool. You gotta be level headed, because not only you may get ejected, like you mentioned, Grant, and you may have to miss next week, but if your other players get involved and then all of your teammates get involved, then then the whole team is going to cost the whole team, and that's what's happened here at the Faraday, and that's a shame, because under our bracket preview and everything, I actually had Faraday going to the quarters. And actually, I had them being Welsh. So now Welsh gets a bye, and kind of like the situation with different reasons with Booker T. Washington. Now Welsh will have a bye, and that affects them. But yeah, I mean, you just cost your chance at another playoff game because of what you did. So that this is an important lesson moving forward, and it's a valuable lesson. You got to keep your composure. You got to be level-headed because things are going to happen. People are going to say something to you. You just got to keep your composure, and don't let them get to you. And unfortunately, even though Faraday won the game on the field, they lost their composure, and because of it, they lost a spot in the playoffs.
Yeah, I mean, yeah. Once again, I mean, don't get in fights. Don't throw hands. If somebody throws hands, just leave it alone. Like the refs are going to see it, and they're going to give a warnings. They're going to throw a flag. I don't know. Just don't get in fights. Just period. Just don't do any of these two. That's basically the life lesson here. But anyway, Jace. Now
that's what I was looking for. It was Amy and Bogalusa in the quarterfinals. And
what year was that?
That was 2015.
Okay.
Yeah. Huh. And it was Amy won the game 56-20.
Oh wow! Wow.
Mm-hmm. I think
that was the year when that was Dwayne Jenkins last year at St. James, right?
Yeah. Well, Northeast was the quarterback. They so St. James basically had a bye into the semis and that happened later down the road. So, like, if your teams, especially when you got these close games, it gets tightly contested, emotions are high. I mean, there's a good chance stuff like this can happen later down the road. This is first round of the playoffs. The game was already decided on the field.
Oh, wow.
It was 37-7. So this is a really good warning sign, a good cautionary tale for not only Faraday, because they're going to learn they obviously learned the lesson the hard way, but for everybody else, Grant, to make sure that they don't get in this situation too. So that's just a cautionary tale for everybody in the playoffs.
Well, guess what? If you said that Amy Bogalusa didn't happen in 2015, I don't think anybody's learned. And it's going to happen again. It's not going to be a rare occurrence, but it's going to happen again for sure. I mean, you got, it's just a very unfortunate situation. But anyway, Jace, finally, let's preview. Yeah, let's talk some football. I think that's a great idea. Yes. All right. So this is the Division I non-select. Neville, the first seed, they will take on Covington. Covington beat Barb 36-29. Chalmette will take on Hanville. Chalmette upset Terrebonne 20-17. While Hanville had to escape an upset bid from HL Bourgeois, but Hanville will move on to the second round. We'll play Chalmette. That should be a good one being played in Hanville. Mandeville will take on West Monroe. That's another game that could, that's a game that I actually have circled as an upset bid.
Yeah.
Central Baton Rouge, they had a first round bye. They will take on West Washita. West Washita won their first playoff game since 2007 in a 42-41 thriller over Dennis Springs in overtime. Ruston also had a bye. They will take on Zachary, and that's another upset bid right there, Jason. We're talking about second round upsets. That's a unfavorable matchup for any team to have Zachary in the second round, regardless of how well Zachary's done this year. I mean, Zachary, even though they're 7-3 and they may be vulnerable, that's still Zachary. Oh, yeah. It's still Zachary. Coach Bruce still there. That's a dangerous game for Ruston. Yeah. Walker, after upsetting Dutchtown in the first round, 41-27, and beating Dutchtown for the second time this year, which are Dutchtown's only two losses of the year. They will take on Southside, where they'll travel to the Lafayette area. The game will be played at Como High School, as Southside does not have a field yet, but next year they will. Their field right now looks really nice. However, they need to get the stands up, and there's going to be some football finally being played at the school itself, instead of having to travel to St. Martinville and Como and all these different places to play a high school game.
Long time
Northwood, yep. And, but it's best time to do it. You got Jess Curtis as your head coach.
Yep.
Northwood Shreveport will take on Destrehan. Northwood Shreveport defeated Salmon 54-27. Well, Destrehan, the game I was at, defeated Washita Parish 30-12. That should be an interesting matchup, although I do think Destrehan will win that game. And Airline and Westgate, this is another upset bid. Westgate has a lot of talent. Even though I know they're dealing with some injuries, they still have enough talent to beat a team like Airline who also has a lot of talent. So, Jace,
Yeah.
you know, what kind of strikes you out the most about the second round Division I non-select?
Yeah, it has to be Rustin Zachary. I mean, to have that matchup in the dome last year, right? And to have them play in the second round, that's what I'm talking about, Grant. Usually we see in years past, maybe a couple years ago, where you've had these matchups in the quarterfinals, semifinals, like big time matchups. We're getting them in the second round. I mean, it's insane. And you talked about all those matchups. I'm gonna be intrigued by that one. That's the big one, right? Rustin and Zachary. Those are two powerhouses going against each other. And another one that intrigues me is Mandeville and West Monroe. I mean, that one intrigues me as well, just because Mandeville struggled a little bit, against Thibodeau, and Thibodeau snuck in, but they only won by 2 touchdowns. It was one of those things they struggled a little bit with Thibodeau and West Monroe. They put up a statement against Parkway, and West Monroe's had a tough schedule this year. That they're 5-5, I know that, but they're still West Monroe. They still got a lot of talent. They play in that very tough district, which you can make an argument probably the toughest in the state. So, yeah, I mean that game is going to be intriguing to me. I know the game is at Mandeville, but I know they don't have Nate Shepard, but Isaiah Bayham's are still really good running back there. So that's going to be intriguing to me to see what happens there, because Mandeville's still a really good football team, but they're probably at their most vulnerable right now.
Jace, yeah. I mean, and a lot of upset bids too. I actually marked it down. The 4 games I have for upset bids are West Monroe and Mandeville, Zachary and Ruston, Walker and Southside, and Westgate and Airline.
Yeah.
So what about some of those other matches, like Zachary and Ruston? Do you see Zachary upsetting Ruston? Although I guess you could say it's an upset. However, it's Zachary, and they've been such a dominant program the last 10, 15 years. Yeah. I mean, you could say it's an upset, but for them, it's not. It's just taking care of business if they do, in fact, beat Ruston.
I'm going to go with Ruston. And the reason why is because I've actually seen this in the semifinals. This is actually Eli Holstein's last game at Zachary. It was against Ruston in the semifinals. And what Ruston did was they ran right at Zachary. And they saw what Catholic did a couple weeks ago that year when they just ran the ball at Zachary. And that's what they did this year. That's what Catholic did this year. So Ruston sees the same thing, same situation here. Zachary, they're long and they're athletic, they're rangy, but they're not like overly big. So you can really push them around if you want to. And I think that's the one weakness for the Zachary team. And Catholic exposed it. Obviously, when you have 7 touchdowns from Jaden Miles, you can run right at them. And they got a really good running back, too, at Ruston, who's been there for like 10 years, it seems like. He's been playing forever. Brantley at quarterback, too. And, they're going to be running the football. It's a good backfield there. At home, this Ruston team's on the mission. I know they lost some guys on defense. They do have some talented defenders also back, too. But I'm going to go with the Ruston. This Zachary team's still a good team, but I don't think it's the Zachary teams we've seen in previous years. This is still a well-coached team by David Burton, and he's done an awesome job. And they got some good players, too. DeVecchio Ruffin, I think Caleb Gonzalez is a good quarterback, but I don't think they're the type of Zachary team we've seen in the past.
Yeah, I mean, if I remember correctly, I was actually kind of going through the playoffs, like the past prep brackets, but it's been a while since Zachary has not made the quarterfinal. If this result happens, let's kind of go through the brackets. I mean, you have to go back deep to look at where they finished, because the last time Zachary did not advance to the quarterfinals,
even under Brewerton.
It's 2012. Looking it up right now. No, they got eliminated in the first round of 2012. So it's been a while. That's what I'm saying. Was Weiner the coach in 2012?
Yeah, I believe so.
I'm gonna
double check on that.
Yeah. So they've been to the quarterfinals every year from 2013 onward, I believe. And it's been a while. Like I'm saying, it's been a while since Zachary has not made it to the quarterfinals. I mean, they made the quarterfinals every year since then.
So
since Neil Weiner was the head coach. That's how long ago. That's how long it's been since the last. Zachary has not made it to the quarterfinals. So that just shows you, how successful the Broncos have been under David Burton
over there.
Yeah. Jesus. But anyway, for the rest of the games, who you got? Let's go through the list. Neville, Covington. I think we both got Neville in this one.
Yeah, I have Neville.
All right, Humble. You got
I got
Honville.
Calvin Smith. Yeah, Calvin Smith's going to have a big day.
Yeah, and Mandeville and West Monroe. This is a game that I'm still going back. I know my bracket. I have Mandeville winning, but also West Monroe. I mean, that's just a bad. Even though West Monroe is the 21st seed and they're coming in with a 6-5 record, that West Monroe team still has some talent on there.
Yeah, if you asked me before the brackets were released, I would have told you Mandeville. But if you're asking me now, I have West Monroe just because of how they're playing. They're building with some confidence. They want a playoff game with some confidence, right? I mean, going on the road and playing Parkway, you got to see where the confidence level is right now. I think West Monroe is a more confident football team, and Mandeville. I mean, they're probably thinking, we struggled a little bit with Thibodeau, only being a touchdown game. We should beat them by more. So confidence level wise, I like where West Monroe is at. So I'm going to go with the Rebels on the road to pull off the upset.
I'm still going to go with Mandeville because I think that result against Thibodeau, I think a lot of that has to do, okay, let's make sure we're as healthy as possible because I think Mandeville could have beaten Thibodeau by more, but how much of that is they're trying to take it easy for the second round? Because the second round, like I said, is where the meat and potatoes get thrown into the stew pot.
Right.
But I think Mandeville is going to win slightly. West Monroe, really, I mean, they've had, in the games where they had to travel long distances, they have not played well, of course. Pulaski. Yeah, now they did play well against Pulaski Academy, but the travel, 4.5 hours, 5 hours down, to get to South Louisiana, play against a Mandeville team where their crowd's pretty electric, by the way. Their crowd is really loud. So you can't underestimate that.
Yeah.
And then just also Mandeville has a lot of good players. I mean, Nate Shepard. It's Nate Shepard, right? Like Nate Shepard's going to go to Duke. He's doing a lot of great things at Duke. He really is one of the more underrated players in the state. But Isaiah Bayham is just as good as Nate Shepard.
Yeah,
they still have a lot of good players. Dylan Henry's comes to mind. He plays both ways for the team.
Yeah.
Michael White's another really good player in the defensive backfield. They got some really good players that play for Mandeville. So it's not. Nate Shepard gets a lot of the pub, but they got a lot of really good players in Mandeville. And their head coach Craig Jones he's done a phenomenal job, but not only with this Mandeville program, which by the way they're about to build a really nice athletic facility over there at Mandeville High School. Yeah. They're really starting to put money into this program, but also the job he did at Lakeshore, right? He put Lakeshore on the map. Lakeshore was a kind of a newer program when he took over, and he made him to a kind of I guess you could say a household name among high school football fans in the state. So, I trust this fact. Oh, yeah, just his overall experience. Kevin Davis is a long-time coach, but in terms of being a high school head coach in Louisiana as a head coach and being in this playoff atmospheres, I think that's going to play a factor. So I'm going to get Mandeville winning in a really close game where it will set them up with that quarterfinal game against Central because I think we both have Central going far in the playoffs.
Yeah, I have Central, and I'm probably one of the few that actually have them in the dome. But either way, it should be. Yeah,
it was kind of a toss up for me. Yeah, it was gonna be a toss up for me between Neville and Central. I know I have Neville going to state championship, but Central, I was really high on before the year. So it was kind of hard because if Central was in this side of the bracket, I probably had Central. To be honest with you.
Yeah.
To be honest with you,
tough.
Because I like how Neville was playing.
Yeah.
It's
gonna be tough.
Yeah, I know. Yeah, Neville. I think Neville's just a really complete team. Just they're more complete than they were last year.
Yeah,
because remember last year they used 2 quarterbacks.
That's right. One of them played in the ball game. Yep.
As a receiver, and then you got to move the quarterback. That was funny.
Yep.
But anyway, I think we're both in agreement that Rustin will move on to Zachary. Although I do think this will be a lot closer game than a lot of people are saying.
It's still going to be a good game because I think Zachary's offense will score some points. But I'm going to go with Rustin.
Yeah. Also in the rematch of the last year's state championship game. Walker would take on Southside. Who you got?
For this one, Walker Southside. I'm gonna lean towards Southside. I was kind of going back and forth
Yeah.
with this one, but Jess Curtis, the Sharks are a tough physical football team. They want to run and play smash mouth football, and I just like their makeup here. When I like teams that run the football, play really good defense. Ramon Singleton's a really good back, and they got a really good secondary over there as well. And I know Walker's going to try to throw the football too and get Caden Jones involved, but I'm gonna go with the home team here. I was kind of debating back and forth because of Walker getting that upset and being a trendy team here, but I'm gonna lean with the Sharks.
hmm Yeah, I'm gonna have to go with the Sharks as well, especially with the experience they have, with the group they have. Their blue collar group. They play
Yeah,
hardcore physical football with their flexible offense. They got a lot of hard hitters on the defensive side as well. And also, it's hard to go against Jess Curtis. It really is.
yeah, yeah,
Although Walker does have Chad Mahaffey, and Chad Mahaffey's won some state championships himself
yeah.
as well. Uh, but I have Destrehan winning against Northwood Shreveport. How about you, Jace?
I agree with you. I like this Destrian team is playing like a state what we thought before the start of the year. They're getting everybody healthy, all their key guys, Jackson Fields. I mean, Jabari Max playing. Hopefully, Jace Thomas comes back in a couple weeks. So, if not this week, but yeah, Destrehan is looking really dangerous right now. So, give me the Wildcats.
Mm-hmm. And how about this Airline Westgate matchup? I got Airline winning this one, a close one. We're a set up a quarterfinal matchup with that Destrehan. But Jace, how do you feel going this matchup? Because I know Westgate still has some talent, but they're still dealing with some injuries. In the last game, they had to use 4 quarterbacks. Well, I'm not
Yeah.
sure if it was exactly 4, but we do know they had a quarterback rotation going on in their game against St. Amand.
Yeah, I believe so, and I believe it. I think it was Jabari's younger brother was one of them. He's only a freshman, so and that was one of the quarterbacks they put out there. But if you told me a confidence level on the airline for this game, I'm about at a 7. You know, I think airline's going to win this football game. Now I think they're going to get a challenge from Westgate because they're athletic, they're fast, and like they can match up. I think athletically pretty well with airline. So but I don't think they're going to keep up. Like you mentioned, the quarterback situation is what I'm worried about. And Ben Taylor is as good as it gets out there. And when it comes to shootout, Westgate cannot keep up with them. So I'm going to go with Airline to advance the next round.
Mm-hmm. All right, Jace. Now let's go to the Division Two non-select bracket. Franklinton, of course, is number 1 seed. They will play against West Feliciana in the second round. West Feliciana beat Carroll 50-29 the first round. Iota will take on Lakeshore in an 8 and 9 seed matchup. Iowa will take on Wassman. Bruley will take on Franklin Parish. Franklin Parish had a first round bye. So they got a week to rest, and now they get to go ahead and prepare to play against Bruley.
Mm-hmm.
Jennings will have a very interesting matchup. Opelousas. Opelousas is the 14th seed. However, remember they are the defending state champions of this bracket, and they still have a lot of players from that team from last year. So this is a very talented Opelousas team, and this really right here, like I said, Jace, this is the one where I told you, hey, if there's one game where I was really confident a team was going lower seed was going to upset a higher seed in the second round, it was going to be this game. I think this is a very bad matchup for Jennings. Overall, we'll get to that in a second. Jace, you want to break that game down as well in a second. Sure. Northwest will take on Plaquemine. Of course, Jace is a native of Plaquemine. He's very familiar with this Plaquemine program. Although he's a Catholic high guy, he is from Plaquemine. That's
and my dad was the coach there for quite a long time when they had some really good runs over there. So definitely familiar with the Green Devils.
And they will take on a very talented Northwest team that's actually improved from their team from like here's the last year's team went to they had a Cinderella run to the semifinals. Now they're even better than where they were before. So that should be a very interesting matchup with some really good players on both sides of the ball. On both teams, not both sides of the ball, yes, but both teams. Yeah. That's what I meant to say. Yeah. North Dakota will take on Belle Chase, and for the 7-10 matchup, and Cecilia's offense will go against Lutcher's defense, and that should be a great one between the second seed Lutcher, who we both have going to the state championship, and Lutcher, who is the state runner-ups. So let's not forget about the Bulldogs. I know they're the 18th seed, but they are much better than the 18th seed. Jace, Yeah, exactly. Which matchup intrigues you the most of the games that we just mentioned?
I'm going with Plaquemine Northwest. I mean that is a really even game. There's some really good games in this bracket, but I think the one if you want to go and just watch a great game that can come down to the wire, I think that Plaquemine Northwest game can be it because it's two conflicting styles, right? Plaquemine with their athletes, with their speed, they want to go up tempo, they want to put points on the board. Northwest wants to methodically move the ball down the field. They got Kavon Johnson there, some pretty talented athletes, and they got the athletes as well to compete with Plaquemine. So two conflicting styles there, and these are two really talented teams. Like this should be an awesome matchup, an awesome football game. So if you want to go and watch a great playoff game, I recommend going and see Northwest and Plaquemine duke it out.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that should be another very interesting matchup. Chinese Opelousas should be very interesting as one,
Yep.
being taking place in Southwest Louisiana. Another tricky match, of course, is Cecilia Lutcher, which is a game I will be at. Cecilia is averaging I think it was 40 plus points per game. It's 40 points a game. I forgot to do the math. I did the math earlier. I marked it down. I forgot. But anyway, I think I marked it on a different notebook. But
yeah, it's around that.
Lutcher. They're averaging 40 plus points a game. Lutcher has only allowed 5.5 points per game.
Yeah.
They've shot up 5 of their opponents this year. They've only allowed more than 20 more points one time this year. That was against Edie White. Yep. And other than that, the most they've besides that game, the most they've held were 12 and 14 points. But the other 5 games were shutouts. I mean, this Lutcher defense is ridiculous. Charles Sterling and Caden Parquette, great players. They're anchors of this defensive line, and also have a great defensive backfield as well. So Jace, let's go through the games.
Yeah, absolutely.
I think we're both in agreement for Franklinton, right?
Yeah, Franklinton next round. Yep.
All right. Iota and Lakeshore. This is an interesting matchup as well. Two evenly matchup teams. What about this one?
Yeah, it's interesting, and I think it's an evenly matched game. Ray Aquan does a great job. Aquan does a great job with that team and that program. Peyton Renfro is a really good. He's an underrated quarterback. I don't think anybody talks about him too much, but he's a really good. He's a winner. He's a solid quarterback. Their defense is solid. That's a good football team. Lakeshore, another really good coach. I'm a state championship winning head coach, Brent Endes. With his wing T offense, brings them down there to the Titans, and he carries on. He was a great hire for Lakeshore to carry on what Craig Jones built at Lakeshore, and you can tell there's going to be a winning tradition there. I saw them one time this year, and it was early in the spring. I saw them in the spring game against Denham Springs, and that's a really good quarterback in Jerry Horn, and they frustrated him. So this is a really good defense, their running game. They got 4 or 5 different guys that they can run the football with. I like Lakeshore here and their experience of making deep playoff runs. This Iota team is really good too. It should be a great football game. But I'm going to go towards give the edge to the Titans at home with a state championship head coach as well, and Brent Endes.
Also, Brent Endes actually came out of retirement to take this job, if I remember correctly.
He did.
So, yeah. So, Jace, you said Lakeshore, correct?
I got Lakeshore. Yep.
All right, I got the same here. I think Lakeshore, like you said, the Winty office, I think it's going to be a little bit too much for Iota. And also, it's hard to bet against Brent Endes. And that should be a very interesting match in quarterfinals. That was a rematch of the regular season game where Franklinton won 35-28 with a last second touchdown. Well, not last second, but the final 30 seconds of the game, they're able to score the game-winning touchdown. I think that should be another great one at Franklinton next week.
Won a lot of close games this year. They've been flirting with a lot of these close ones this year, despite being 9-1.
Yeah. Oh yeah, definitely. Oh yeah. That's a great point. But all those wins were great wins. I mean, they actually handed Jill Sumner their only loss of the year. They beat Amy. I mean, they beat some really good teams this year, including Lakeshore. So, but like I said, they've been flirting with defeat a little bit too much. But this is why the playoffs met. But could that affect them in the playoffs? A little bit. But also, it also means that they played in a lot of close games, so they know how to win those close games if it ever gets to that point.
Mm-hmm.
But Jace, Iowa and Wasserman, who you got?
I like Iowa. Wasserman's defense is really good, but I just don't think they have the horses to compete as far as scoring points with Iowa. With Colin Charles, a really good wide receiver for them too. Jonathan Walker at the running back position, kind of a hybrid between a running back receiver. They got some weapons at Iowa. Wasserman's defense is good, and that's what's carried them. That's why they were able to get the win over Minden. But I just don't think they'll be able to put up enough points to keep up with Iowa.
Mm-hmm. Gonna have to go the same with you. I'm gonna have to pick Iowa. I mean, their offense. I was just looking at the schedule. They've only scored 20 or between 20 and 29 points one time. That's their loss against Little Cypress, which is a high school in Texas. Other than that, they scored 36 plus points. They scored 36 points or more, and they've scored at least 40 points 8 times.
Yeah.
And they also handed Jennings their only loss of the year in a 38-22 loss. A 38-22 win. So, Iowa's offense is legit. Burley and Franklin Parish. Pretty sure we both got Franklin Parish win that game.
Yeah,
right?
I have Franklin Parish actually going to the Dome. So, obviously, I'm going with Franklin Parish.
Same here. So, yeah. So, I mean, unless we change our mind or so. I know, sometimes you can change your mind.
Yeah,
sometimes I can change my mind.
Mm-hmm.
I just want to make sure that we both didn't just change our mind. Yeah. I haven't changed my mind, but maybe you have. Yep, but Jennings and that's true. Jennings and Opelousas.
I'm gonna go with.
Did you change your mind about this game?
No. I got Opelousas. Jennings is a good team. I mean, I know we're talking about like this is going to be a slam dunk win and everything, but I mean, Jennings is a good football team. Rajon Zeno is a running back, and Jennings always had great running backs with the Etienne brothers too. But it's just a bad matchup. I mean, Opelousas. Disregard that 14 seed. They played some 5A teams and they lost some games this year because they played some tougher competition. But they got rolling towards the end of the season. You saw what they did against a really good Bastrop team, 47-6, and they controlled that from the kickoff. I mean, there was no doubt who's going to win that football game from the opening kickoff. So, I mean, Deshaun Ford, I don't think anybody wants to tackle that tank in the cold and when the weather gets cold. I don't think anybody wants to get and try to bring him down. So they got Zacchaeus Malvo back at the quarterback position. He's a dynamic runner too, and it's a great great combo with his speed and Deshaun's power. So I'm going to go with Opelousas, especially with a lot of those guys coming back from last year's state championship team.
Definitely. And let me go back to the screen. Northwest of Plaquemine. Oh, I'll pick Opelousas too, but Plaquemine and Northwest.
Yeah, I was going back and forth with this one, but I like Northwest, and this is me being a Plaquemine guy and growing around the program. But I like Northwest because they did it before. I mean, as far as recently, right? They were in the semifinals last year, so they're known for making these deep playoff runs. And like Grant mentioned, this is a better team. I mean, like last year, they kind of snuck up on everybody as a 22nd seed. They're 11th seed this year. Kevon Johnson at the running back position. If he stayed for St. Edmund this year, he would have been the all-time leading rusher in the program's history, and he's only going to his junior year. So that kind of shows you what kind of running back he is. And now he's at Northwest. So their defense is athletic too. And this is a well coached football team. They're going to try to run the football, keep that explosive Plaquemine offense off the football field. So I'm going to go with Northwest to advance in the next round. But that should be a fun game if you plan on going to see that.
Yes, and I got Northwest win this game too over Plaquemine. I just think that their playoff push last year has prepared them to play in the playoffs this year, especially with the better team coming back. And also, I think I didn't really explain this game too. I think Opelousas is winning just because I think they're just a better team than Jennings. I know the seedings, they're the 14th seed, but if you look at Opelousas' losses, they lost to Terrellins Catholic 14-21. They lost against Alexandria 40-43, and they lost against Zachary 6-24. So those are three tough. I mean, those were 3 tough games to win. I mean, and they really turned the Turlings Catholic one was kind of the shock, and that's when everyone's like, "Oh, Turlings." I mean, how good is Turlings? How good is Turlings really? Because Turlings also lost a lot of players from last year too, so they had a really hot start to the year.
And
But
that
All
Zachary
Blues
game
is,
was scoreless. I think that Zachary game was scoreless at halftime. So that game was much closer
yeah.
than 4-6. They just pulled away at the
Mhm.
end.
And I know Bell Chase defeated North Vermilion 56-21, and they had a great start the year before they lost 2 out of their last 3 games against St. Charles Catholic and Archbishop Shaw. But I think we both have North Dakota winning this game, considering North
Yeah.
Dakota's experience in the playoffs.
Yeah, I have him advancing. I mean, Luke Delafield made a run as a freshman to the dome, so he's very experienced in these big time games. And with him throwing the football, Kenny Thomas is a good back too, running the football for them as well. I don't think Bell Chase is going to be able to match tit for tat with them scoring wise on the scoreboard. So I got the Griffins advancing.
Mm-hmm. And Cecilia and Lutcher, this should be another upset bid in this bracket. Of course, we already mentioned how great Cecilia is. I mean, Diaz Solari, uh, Braylon Calais. They got a lot of great big time players on the offense. Defense, Brent Gordon's an excellent safety. He's one of the more underrated defensive backs in the state. But Cecilia's offense will be, this will be the first test for Lutcher's defense. This will be the first, this will be the first time they play like one of the top offenses in the state. Now they played some good offenses. Like, don't get me wrong, they played some good offenses and they shut them out. But Cecilia is a different type of offense. They're high score. They average over 40 points a game. Jace, do you have Cecilia upsetting Lutcher, or do you have Lutcher moving on the second round and keeping those state title hopes alive?
To be honest with you, Grant, I think this is the perfect game for Letcher in this playoff bracket. Early on, you get a big time opponent, a team that's made a run to the dome. It's going to make them with the offensive weapons that Cecilia has. I think it's going to keep Letcher on their toes. They're not going to be sloppy coming out the gate. I don't think they'll be rusty. They're going to be focused, knowing the offense is going to be playing against. And you know the saying, right? Defense wins championships. Offense sells tickets. Mm-hmm. Well, in this matchup, and most of these matchups, when the great offenses go against great defenses, it's the great defenses that win. So I'm going to go with the great defense here. I'm going to go with Letcher to win this football game. I think Cecilia does give them a scare. I think they'll put up some points and make it troublesome for Letcher's defense. But I trust Letcher's defense to come up big in this football game and find a way to win that football game. And especially with it being at home, and it's really hard to win at Letcher because it is a tough place to play. So I'm going to go with the Bulldogs.
Yeah, same here. I think Letcher will win a close one. I think Letcher's defense will be tested early, but I think Letcher will win something along the lines of 34-27. I think Cecilia's offense is enough.
White score, I think it's going to be like 27, 21, something like that. But it's going to be somewhat to that.
All right, Jace. On to Division III non-select. St. James is the first seed, of course. They're still in it. They will play Donaldsonville. Pine will take on Kaplan. That should be a very interesting game. Both of those teams won their first round games. Union Parish. They won their first round game over Oakdale. They'll take on Red River. And that should be a good one over there at Union Parish. Westlake will take on Kinder. Kinder had a first round bye, and they'll play against a talented Westlake team. So it'll be interesting to see how Kinder is coming off this bye week, going against a talented team in Westlake with Kevin Rudeau, who's one of the better athletes in the state. Oak Grove is coming off a bye as well. Go ahead.
Yeah, I was going to say, great wide receiver. An underrated wide receiver in the state is Kevin Rudeau.
Oak Grove will take on Mansfield. Oak Grove is coming off the bye after, they're the third seed. They're top 4 seed, so they had a bye. They will take on Mansfield. Lakeside will take on Sterlington. Lakeside defeated Boogaloo at 37-12. And I actually think Lakeside had a defensive back that had 5 interceptions and a pick 6. If I heard that, did he make the Gridiron Player of the Week? By the way, I just saw that today.
Yeah,
What?
yeah, he hasn't. But we had some pretty special performances this week for sure. So
Yeah,
yeah,
5
but yeah,
interceptions. That's hard to beat, bro.
yeah, that is. But we didn't get a submission from it. That was your question.
Wait, you had a submission for it, and you didn't include him in
No,
the
no,
player
no,
of
no,
the
we
week?
did get a submission from it.
Oh, you didn't
Like,
get a submission
yeah,
for
we
it.
didn't get a submission from it. Yeah.
Yeah, because I just saw that today. So
Yeah,
I
yeah.
just
If
saw
you
that
saw it
today.
today, yeah, then that's the first time I've heard it too. So yeah, that's
Oh,
incredible.
really? Okay.
You definitely would have been in the
Yeah.
running if it was submitted. I'd known about it for sure.
Yeah. Yeah. I didn't know. I just saw that today. I'm like, wait, did I read that correctly? Uh, he had 5 interceptions. I'm going to pull it up real
You
quick
would think
because I
after
don't want to say the kid's name.
the third one that they decide like,
Yeah.
yeah, let's not
Yeah.
throw it to him.
Yeah.
Let's not throw it to him.
Teron Riley. So, yeah, Teron Riley had 5 interceptions and a 97-yard pick six.
Wow, that's unbelievable. I would say after the second or third one, like, yeah, let's not throw it toward his way. I think it'd be a good idea we throw it opposite side of him. Yeah, just a suggestion, you know.
Yeah. Anyway, Gina, Gina will take Port Allen. Port Allen upset Church Point last week, 16-7. Will they get the Will they have another upset bid over Gina? Who knows? BJ will discuss that in a second. And Lorville and Erath. This game is another upset bid. Lorville's a very talented team. They got some talented players. I know they've had an up and down season. But this is kind of the perfect recipe. Erath is coming off of a first round bye.
Mhm.
Erath's had a lot of close victories.
Yeah.
And this could be the game where Erath finally escapes, finally doesn't escape the jaws of defeat. So, Jace, up to the top,
Mhm.
what's the most interesting matchup in your opinion among this bracket? I know this isn't a glorious second round, but there might be a matchup that might catch your eye, Jace.
Yeah, I mean, looking at the second round here, I'm just kind of looking at some of the matchups here. I think at the top, what intrigues me the most is Pine and Kaplan. I mean, just from the seating standpoint, right? But Pine, Bradley Seals, a really good football coach, and you look at Tank Latif. I think that's kind of like a headline of him. That's been an underrated headline for him coming back to Kaplan. They made a couple semifinal runs when he was leading the Pirates a couple years ago. So I know fans are really excited to have him come back. So that'll be a game I keep an eye out for. I mean, I feel like Westlake Kinder could be an interesting matchup too for 13 seed. Those are, man, as far as the top, those are the ones I'm keeping my eye on. And you look at the bottom here. I'm intrigued to see what Port Allen does. I mean, I said that this was an upset alert here with Church Point because Church Point has had great regular seasons, but they haven't had great runs in the playoffs, and they were able to defeat them. And now we're going to find out how legitimate Port Allen is because I'm really high on this Gina football team. So if they can find a way to beat Gina, then yeah, we're going to definitely talking about Port Allen maybe being a Cinderella team. So I'm keeping my eye on that one. And like you mentioned, I mean, Loreauville and ERAF. I'm very intrigued by ERAF, right? I mean, I think their only loss this year was against Vermilion Catholic, and they're undefeated this year. But they had some tough, they had some close wins, kind of like Franklinton, right? They've been kind of flirting with disaster a little bit, right? But can that translate to the playoffs? That's going to be the biggest thing. That's what I'm curious about, and I'm just intrigued to see how they play in the playoffs, knowing that they haven't really been in many positions like this before.
Definitely. All right, Jace, let's go over the winners. Both in agreement for St. James
Yep,
over
St. James.
Donaldsonville.
Yep.
I'm gonna the next game, Kaplan and Pond. I got Kaplan actually going to the quarterfinals.
Mm-hmm.
Do you see who you got in this game? Kaplan's a very good team. Both they're physical, of course. Tank Latif is has
Yep.
done a great job. He originally was left the job of Kaplan, and then he came back. Now
Mm-hmm.
Kaplan's back to where we used to seeing Kaplan at.
Yep.
Pine's also a very physical team. Jackson Jones is one of the top offensive
Yep.
tackles in the country. He is currently committed to TCU. Jace, who you got?
I got Kaplan, and the reason why I got Kaplan is because of their runs that bring that toughness back to Kaplan, and that's what Low Teeth does bring. I mean, when your nickname is Tank, That's all you need to know about him. So like
Yeah.
they're a tough football team. Pine's had a good season, but they've always been like, okay, where's that big win to set them over the hump, put them over the edge?
Yeah.
And they haven't gotten that. The teams that they had chances, I mean, in that area, I mean, Amy had a chance there. I think they played Franklinton, Joel Sumner, haven't defeated those teams. And when they play against the really good teams, they just haven't been able to defeat them. So this is another really good football team. They beat Southern Lab this year, defending Division Four non-select state champions. So I'm gonna go with Kaplan.
Same here. Got Kaplan winning that game. Although I think this game will be an interesting game. It's a 9-8 matchup.
Yeah.
So, but evenly matched game. I got Kaplan winning. They're the home team. They're hot right now. The only game that they have lost, they've lost 2 games. One was against the Central Episcopal, and Central Episcopal is a very good team.
Yep.
They're not. They're 9-1 right now. And then the other loss was against ERAF. So they've won 7 of their last 8 games.
Mhm.
The ERAF loss came at the very last second. ERAF kicked a walk-off game-winning field goal to win that game. So,
Yeah.
they've been playing some really good football. But I got Kaplan winning over Pine, Union Parish at Red River, Jace. I think we're both in agreement on that one as well.
Yes, I like Union Parish, defending state champions. They're not intimidated by anybody. They played a tough schedule starting off the season, and they got hot over the last couple of games. So the defending state champions, I'm going to roll with them, roll with Coach Spatford to move on to the quarters.
Yeah, Jace. Moving on, we got Westlake. I got Union Parish winning that game as well. But Westlake will take a Kinder. Jace, are you picking the upset bid, or you got Kinder moving on to the next round?
I know Coach Richardson's a really good coach at Westlake. He's done a great job with that program. Westlake hasn't done much until he's really shown up, and that's what he kind of did with Welsh. Remember, he led Welsh to a state championship runner-up appearance, leading the Greyhounds. But I'm going to go with Kinder. Kinder's had a really good past track record with really deep runs in the playoffs. I mean, they've lost 2 times this year. One of them was Iota, and the other one was the South Beauregard. And when you look at Westlake, they got some talent. They got one of the leading passers in the state. I mean, Kevin Rito is a really good football player, but they've been kind of up and down this year. They're coming off. They also lost to Jennings in the year 50-0 too, and they also have had losses as well to Lake Charles Prep. They lost by 30 points there. So yeah, I'm gonna go with Kinder to survive the upset.
I'm going to go with Kinder as well. Oak Grove, I think we're both agreeing for Oak Grove winning that one.
Yep.
Lakeside, Sterlington, who you got?
I got Sterlington. I think it's that'll be an awesome matchup in the quarterfinals. We get Sterlington and Oak Grove, 2 great Northeast Louisiana teams, powers going at it. So I think it's going to happen. We'll see Oak Grove and Sterlington in the next round.
Yeah, same here. I got Sterlington beating Lakeside. I think this game would be interesting. I got Sterlington winning a close one. That will set up a quarterfinal matchup. That was bound to happen. These are 2 Northeast Louisiana powers. Both have gone to the dome in the past. Yeah, I think this one everyone's can't wait for up there in North Louisiana. Gina and Port Allen. Do you have Port Allen having another upset, or you have Gina moving on to the quarterfinals?
Before I would say the pick, I gotta say, round of applause to West Baton Rouge. I mean, with a pretty good week. I mean, North Libreville winning. We also had Brewery winning, Plaquemine winning, Port Allen winning. So, like, it was a pretty good week for West Baton Rouge. But I think that's where Port Allen's run ends here. Gina's a really good football team. Last year, remember, they had an awesome season. They were the number 1 seed, undefeated, went all the way to the semifinals. Could have been in the Superdome last year. So Gina, I mean, they're maybe going a little bit overlooked maybe this year, but I'm sure Coach Roark rathers that than having the target on his back of being the number 1 seed and undefeated. So I like this Gina football team. They got some really good. Cedric Wilson's a good running back too for the Giants over there. The game's at home. Port Allen has to travel. So and Port Allen might have exhausted all of their momentum, right, of going on the road and beating Church Point. That's tough to do that 2 games in a row. So I'm gonna go with Gina.
I'm going to roll with the Gina Giants as well. I think Port Allen can make this interesting, but I think Gina is just overall the better team.
Yeah.
I think they've more playoff experience than Port Allen, a lot more considering their run last year, and then also the success they've had in the playoffs beforehand. But I'm gonna have to pick Gina to advance the quarterfinals, and this one should be interesting. It's kind of back and forth for me. I got Erath win the quarterfinals, but I don't feel comfortable saying that, just given the fact that Louisville is kind of a sneaky team, given what they have on their team.
Yeah, they're sneaky, but I think the crowd's going to be ready for this one. And they haven't had many big games like this that they're about to have, and I think that this team's experience of winning close games will help them. I do have Erath advancing this round. Now, the game potential matchup between Gina, that'll be a different story. We'll talk about that next week. But I have Erath at least advancing this week.
Same here, Jace. Yeah, Erath winning, but that's gonna be a close one. I think Louisville will make this game tight.
Yeah, I think so too.
I think this game, this is the upset bid for sure.
Yeah.
But anyway, last non-select bracket, then we're gonna take a little bit of a break. But Haynesville, number 1 overall seed, of course, they had a first round bye. They will take on Montgomery, who was able to squeak out a 42-40 victory over Benton. They will take on Welsh. The winner of this game will take on Welsh in the quarterfinals. I think it's going to be Haynesville. I think we're both in agreement there, Jace.
Yes, Haynesville for sure. They're the heavy favorites.
Yeah.
There's no doubt.
Yes, yeah. So they will take on Welsh. Like I said earlier, Welsh will have the bye as that game was ruled a no contest between Faraday and Lake Arthur. Faraday was winning this game, and then they got a fight. Then LHSAA was overseeing it the past, over the weekend, and on Monday they ruled it that Faraday will be out of the playoffs, and so is Lake Arthur. So Walsh and Haynesville in the quarterfinals. Of what we're saying. This is a game I think will be a upset bid right here. North Iberville and General Trask.
Yeah.
I think that should be a good one. Grand Lake and Jeanneret. That's another upset bid I have right there. Jenneret's a really good team. They went to the semifinals, I believe. They said semifinals, quarterfinals last year. I think they went to the quarterfinals.
Yeah, I think they went to the quarters last year. They made a pretty deep run.
Yeah, I think it was like the first. I think it was the first time they made the quarterfinals. It was the first time in a while that they made the quarterfinals.
Yeah, because Jeanneret has been a struggling program for a long time. So this was they're starting to come along as of late.
Yeah, the Quincy. They had a first one bye. They would take on Franklin, who had a huge 40-40 victory over White Castle. Could they have another upset bid here? We'll find out this Friday. Elton and Logansport, 11-6 matchup. Logansport's one of the more successful programs in North Louisiana the past, in recent times. Mangum will take on West St. John. Yeah, Mangum will take on West St. John. That should be a very interesting matchup. Mangum's a very good team. Mangum has a chance to make a run here. They could go to the semifinals, and they will take on West St. John. And it's great to see West St. John not only back in the playoffs, but back to being a really good team once again. They finished the regular season 7-3, and they had a first round win over Acadia. I think this game could be interesting, but I think we're both going to favor Mangum in this one. And East Feliciana defeated Homer. Homer's a really popular pick to advance far in the playoffs, make a little Cinderella run, just given what Homer's done in recent times and the talent that they have. But they lost against East Feliciana 6-0, and East Feliciana will take on South Plaquemines. So, Jace, what matchups kind of interest you, in your opinion?
Yeah, I'm going to talk about. I'll talk about two. The first one is North Iberville General Trask because I'm intrigued by that one. I think North Iberville is the more talented team on the field, but the question is, how do they handle this big time environment? This is the first time they've won a playoff game since 1988. And at that time, they were called Shady Grove. They weren't even called North Iberville at the time. So I'm going to be intrigued how they handle that matchup. General Trask. I remember a couple of years ago when Coach Wells, they made the semifinals, and they were knocking on the door of going to a state championship game. So Coach Wells has made some deep runs in the past, and they've been more of a more of a program as far as like years under their belt and being consistent under Coach Wells. So I know it's been a great year for North Iberville, but that could be an upset alert type of game there. And the other game I got my eyes on is Mangum and West St. John, because Mangum is my trendy pick to make the dome in the bottom side of the bracket. They're tough, they're physical, and Coach Wilcher does a great job for their team as well. And they got former Richwood Coach Arvey, I believe. I think he helps. Coach Yanez. I think Marcus Yanez helps out with the DC at Mangum. So you got 2 head coaches on the staff. So they're a really good football program. West St. John. I remember when I first started working, West St. John was a powerhouse. West St. John was the type of team we were talking about going to the dome. Like they were a powerhouse every single year. It's been a couple down years for them, but really the job, kudos has to go. We haven't talked about him a lot this year, but Darren Thomas. I mean, he deserves a lot of kudos to bringing West St. John, bringing that pride, that community back to Edgar, Louisiana. And when West St. John is good, Grant, Louisiana high school football is good. That makes the sport of Louisiana high school football better. And again, that big game for West St. John, first big game in quite a while. It's going to be awesome to see. So that'll be a great matchup as well.
Definitely, Jace. It's a really good match in this one. But Jace, let's go ahead and start predicting the winners. Haynesville, Montgomery. I think. Well, we already discussed that Haynesville is moving on to play Walsh in the quarterfinals.
Yep.
I'm gonna go with the upset bid. If you look at my bracket, Jace, that I sent you, I had Jenner Trask winning this game. I like how Jenner Trask has been played. I like their offense of this one. North Riverville is kind of a weird spot. So I think, because not only is it the first time going to the playoffs, in the current incarnation of this football program, because I know they went through some couple of incarnations, because it's the first year going back to football, playing the varsity level. But I think General Trask, I think, given their impressive performances in recent times, they've won. I know they lost against Delta Charter and St. Fred's, who are both really good programs, by the way. Both those schools are really good programs. They scored 82 points against Delta Charter. And really, the 3 out of their last 4 games, or really, 3 out of their last 4 or 5 games, they've scored 44, 56, 82, and 58 points. This offense can score, and then also their playoff game as well. So they can score points at will. They scored 50-plus points in 3 or 4 of their games. But Jace, I have General Trask moving on. What about you? I know you've been high in this North Iberville team. Do you have North Iberville moving on to the quarterfinals, or do you have General Trask with the upset bid?
I think I do. I think I have North Iberville advancing. It's just one of those type of years. It's been a magical type of year for North Iberville. Coach Gass does an awesome job, and they got talent. I feel like they have better talent on the field than General Trask. Now, I do think this will go down to the wire, and this will be a really good football game. But the town of Railsdale, Louisiana will be rocking, because they've been starving for this for 30 years. So they are going to be hungry. They're going to be rocking, and it's going to be an awesome environment. Jeremy Favorite's a great running back. They got a lot of really good weapons. Brejan Molasson as well. They can score too, and they put up a lot of really good points, big time numbers this year. Also, it does help when you have David Masterson, a longtime Northeast coach. Coach Trenton Holiday has had some really good Northeast teams. A personal, really good friend of my dad's, helping them out too. And also the Marcus Hill, who was actually the last coach, Grant, to lead the Bears to a playoff win, is helping them out as well. I like this story this year, Grant. I think the storybook, the page will turn for at least another page into the next round.
Oh yeah, definitely, Jace. I'm going to disagree in that matchup, but I think North Iberville has a great chance of going to the quarterfinals. But this is a matchup against General Trask. It's kind of an unfavorable matchup in my opinion, because General Trask can score. They've proven that. If you look at their last 3 results, including this one where they scored 64 points over Centerville. Grand Lake Generette, who you got? This is another upset bid in my opinion.
Yeah, it is. But I'm gonna lean toward Jeanneret here. They're at home, and Grand Lake did struggle a little bit against Jonesboro Hodge. And I know Jonesboro Hodge. I think I even told you on the show last week that watch out for Jonesboro Hodge and make it interesting because they're playing better down the stretch, and you saw them give Grand Lake a scare. I think Jeanneret has more talent, and I think you want to overwhelm a little bit Grand Lake too. Even though Grand Lake's made some great runs in years past, so I'm gonna lean with Jeanneret here at home.
Yeah, same here. I'm gonna pick Jeanneret to move on to the quarterfinals for the second year
Yeah.
in a row. Jace, DeQuincy and Franklin. Do you see Franklin having the upset beta here over DeQuincy?
Yes, I have Franklin with the upset here. With the way I was pretty high on this White Castle team. This White Castle team defeated North Iberville, and they've gave a lot of teams some troubles with their athleticism and their speed. But Franklin just pounced them. I mean, it wasn't even close. And Franklin made a statement there. Coach Johnson's a great job. They've got some great athletes on their roster as well. And Franklin's made some good runs as a double-digit seed before. So DeQuincy, I'm not sure how they handled the bye and handled the situation as much, even though DeQuincy's had a great regular season. But I'm going to go with the upset here. I think Franklin's really confident with how they've been playing and the statement they did at White Castle. So I'm going to roll with the confident team. I got Franklin with the upset.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I just kind of back and forth with me. I will probably I'm gonna pick DeQuincy. DeQuincy, you know, they're 90. They finished the season 9-1. Their only loss was against Erath, which is 30-28. Speaking of Erath having close results, that was actually DeQuincy's only loss of the year.
Mm-hmm.
I'm gonna pick DeQuincy to go on the quarterfinals, where I'm probably gonna have them playing over Logansport if that result holds off. For the Logansport Elton matchup, you know, are you in agreement with me or you are gonna have to go against me?
No, I'm not going against you this time, Grant. Logan Sport, Kevin McGee, congratulations to him, 100 wins. Logan Sport has won some state championships. I was actually going back and forth, Grant, between Mangum and Logan Sport because I feel like one of those two will be your representative in the state championship game. So I'm going to go with Logan Sport.
Same here. I'm gonna go with Logansport. Thought Jay was gonna go against me again, but he didn't. How about this? Mangum and West St. John. Do you have West St. John defeating Mangum to go to the quarterfinals for the first time in 3 years, actually? Or you have Mangum going to the semifinal? I know you're high on Mangum.
Yeah.
But did you change your mind here? And then also who you have between South Plaquemines and East Feliciana?
I'm gonna roll with Mangum. I'm still feel pretty good. I know they gave up some points against East Iberville, but East Iberville's got some really good athletes. They can put some points up if they need to. So that was kind of a tricky matchup for Mangum in the first round. But I like Mangum. I like this Mangum team a whole lot. I have them going to the Dome. I think a lot of people have them as a dark horse to go to the Dome. So West St. John's going to give them a really good matchup early on. But I like Mangum's draw, so I'm going to take Mangum. But it should be a good game, and I'm glad we're talking about West St. John playing some important games late in the year once again.
Mm-hmm. Yes, I'm going to pick Mangum. Although this game, I think West St. John has a chance to make this game interesting.
Yeah.
I'm going to have to go with Mangum and then South Plaquemine and East Feliciana.
Yes, I'm actually going to go with South Plaquemines. I mean, I had Homer actually win this game as well as you did, Grant, and actually being South Plaquemines. But I think South Plaquemines matches up favorably, even though East Feliciana won. I think they match up better against East Feliciana. And South Plaquemines shows you that, hey, when they're at their best, they can almost, I mean, they could play with the Newmans of the world. I mean, they lost to Newman by 3 points. That was one of the more impressive victories out there. So I'm going to go with South Plaquemines at home to get the win.
Mm-hmm. Same here. I'm going to pick South Plaquemine because my original pick, Homer, got eliminated in the first round. So I'm going to put with South Plaquemine, and their performance against Newman, I think, showed me that, okay, this team is actually a lot better than I thought they were going to be. I knew they were good, but you know, and they really hadn't played any, like, you know, I mean, their schedule, I won't say it's weak, but they really hadn't had a big game here. We're like, okay, this team matched up against this team pretty well. They went up against a Newman team who I think, has a great shot going to the Dome. I think if there's any team, like I said, Jace, but if there's any Newman team that.
I was going to ask you that too, like because I know you had Homer going to the state championship. With them being out now, I know that was your pick. Who do you think is going to represent the bottom bracket in the Dome as of now?
Mm, I mean, I don't know. Let's get to the quarterfinals first before I make a decision. I mean, right now we gotta wait for these games to go through. I think something like that where it's kind of earlier on. I'm like, I don't know, because I think I think after the quarterfinals, I have a better idea. So we'll wait. I'm gonna wait and see in that one before I make any final one, because I said Homer's going to state championship. And they got limited by Eastville, and I don't think anybody expected that.
Yeah.
So anyway, that's gonna wrap up the non-select brackets. We're gonna take a quick break. It won't take very long. We're just gonna stretch a little bit, and then we're gonna get right back into it with the select brackets, which won't take it nearly as long as the non-select brackets because there's a lot of buys, right? There's a lot of buys. A little bit easier. I'd say they're a little bit easier to pick. How about that? A little bit easier. All right, we'll be right back, guys. All right, we're back after a quick break. We just broke down the non-select bracket. So if you're just tuning in, make sure we started the non-select brackets. I would say around the 40 minute mark. But I think that's where we start off. But I'll also leave some thumbnails down at the bottom of the screen, so that way you can go back and watch the non-select brackets if you missed it. If you're just tuning in. So right now, me and Jace are going to go over the select brackets. But before we get to that, I also want to share. This, as the show is sponsored by Mid City Pizza. Once again, Mid City Pizza. They got two locations. One on 4400 Bank Street, which is actually right behind Jesuit High School down there in New Orleans, Louisiana. And a location in Uptown, Louisiana at 6307 South Mirror Street, right across from Tulane's baseball stadium. If you want to place an order, the phone number for Mid-City Pizza on Bank Street is 504-483-8609. Or if you want to get a delivery or you just want a better process of the takeout or delivery, make sure to contact MCP Uptown as that's more of a takeout place. The number for that is 504-509-6224. So make sure you check out Mid-City Pizza in New Orleans. If you're either are currently in the New Orleans area, you live in the New Orleans area, or you're visiting the New Orleans area, or if you're coming in for the state championships, make sure to check them out. They got some great pizzas. As you said, that's kind of they got some cool videos and stuff. I like that about it. So you can see how they make the pizza and everything like that. It's pretty cool. But anyway, these are the favorites: the spicy margarita, the meat monster, the meatballs you see over there. They got handmade meatballs, the classic Sicilian. A lot of great stuff. Not only that pizza, but they also have wings. They can show you meatballs. They also serve alcoholic beverages if you want to sit down and have a good time. Make sure to go to Mid City Pizza Uptown. You see all the reviews that they have over here. It's great pizza, New York style pizza as well. So whenever you're in New Orleans, make sure to check them out at Mid City Pizza. Once again, they got two locations, one at 4400 Bank Street, which is right behind Jesuit High School in New Orleans, and a location in Uptown at 6307 South Mirror Street, right across from Tulane's baseball stadium. Jace, I don't want to keep talking about pizza because it's starting to make me hungry. And right now it is at the time of recording, it's 9:30 at night, and I don't want to eat anything late at night. So, Jace, let's move on to some football.
Go.
The select Division One brackets. You got Carr and Huntington. Carr's winning that one. We're both in agreement. We're not going to go back to this game. But anyway, St. Aug will take on St. Thomas More. That should be a good one being played in Lafayette. Archbishop Roma will take on McDonald 35. East Jeff will take on Catholic Baton Rouge. Acadiana will take on John Curtis Christian. Jesuit will take on Turling. They'll travel to take on Turlings, which is 60. I think that's probably the only upset bet I have. St. Paul's will take on C.E. Bird. And Evangel Christian will take on Alexandria. Jace, I think the most intriguing thing about this bracket is that they've got a lot of New Orleans versus Lafayette teams playing against each other. And in recent times, the Lafayette teams have gotten the better of the New Orleans teams. So do you see it maybe differently? Do you think the New Orleans teams will finally get over the Lafayette schools? Or do you see the Lafayette schools still dominate the New Orleans schools? With a lot of these New Orleans versus Lafayette matchups, of course, I'm talking about Jesuit and Turlings, Acadiana, John Curtis, and St. Thomas More and St. Aug.
I think the best shot that I think that New Orleans team can win, I think it's Jesuit. Maybe I think say now I think St. Aug and St. Thomas More is going to be a good game, so that can go either way. But I like Jesuit's chances here. I mean, Jesuit's a really good defense. They're playing, they played a lot of really good teams in the Catholic League. They gave Edna Carr a lot of problems as well. So Turling's Catholics had a really good season. But I think Jesuits had a tougher schedule. I think they're more battle-tested than Turling's Catholic is. So I agree with you. Out of all the games here, I think Jesuit, not only for New Orleans, but I think Jesuit has the best chance of any upsets in the second round.
It's the same here. I think this is the one upset bid we have, just because I think others are they're not really tosses. So you kind of already have an idea who is going to win. But besides Carr and Huntington, because I think we both have Carr winning that one, and we've both seen Carr. Like that. Where I think we're both in agreement there. But St. Aug, St. Thomas More, two great offenses going at it. You see St. Aug going to Lafayette and pulling out the victory, investing the quarterfinals for the first time in quite a bit. Or do you have St. Thomas More winning it and going to the quarterfinals to play against Carr?
Yeah, I haven't seen St. Thomas More play this year. I've seen him in the past. I know there's a new look St. Thomas More team just because a lot of the offense from last year, the last two state championship teams are gone, which I know that was a hurdle this year to get that offense going. But once they've gotten it going, they've been pretty tough to stop. St. Aug, I saw them last week, and their defense, they're athletic, man. I think they'll give St. Thomas More some trouble. And they got a really good quarterback themselves as well. I think they can make it interesting. That should be an interesting matchup. But I'm more confident right now in St. Thomas More just because it's hard to win at St. Thomas More. Their defense is really good. I think Cole Bergeron's really playing a lot better down the stretch and a lot more confidence in there. They've been leaning on the ground game a little bit this year too because of that. But I like St. Thomas More. I think Robert Valdez is going to get St. Aug in a position where they can be like St. Thomas More and continue to compete for a state championship and be that consistent program. But I don't think they're there just yet because this is his first year. I think they're still a year away at least, but they're off to a really good start under Valdez in year number one. But I think it ends here. I got St. Thomas More. I'm going to go with Jim Hightower, Shane Savoy, the program at home. I'm going to go with St. Thomas More.
Yeah, I'm same here. And I got a lot of respect for the job that Coach Valdez has done for the St. Aug team.
Yeah.
Like I said, I think they're a year away from becoming that type of program, or at least they're competing for a state title. I think just going against the St. Thomas More team that has, gone far in the playoffs before, have a lot of experience in playing in the playoffs. And so is St. Aug, but St. Thomas More has experience of going and playing these high pressure situations.
Mm-hmm.
I think St. Thomas More will get the edge over St. Aug, although I do think this would be a very good game. And I think this game will be a great game. Regardless if St. Aug wins or loses, I think this is the game where they see where they're at as a team, as a program going into next year, because they will return a lot of key guys next year, because this is a team is an interesting mixture of both veterans and younger players. The starting quarterback, Tate Coulons Jr., he'll be back next year, and the backup quarterback, Jael Noble,
and they play him a lot too.
He's a freshman. Yeah, he's a freshman. He's a long run back. So that's the thing about him. That's the thing about him is that, if Tate gets hurt, I prefer Tate to stay in the game, because Jael Noble, can throw, but he's probably the fastest guy on the field. Or one.
Yeah, that's why they play him. I can tell why they play him.
Yeah.
But, they're explosive, man. Their wide receivers are good too. So
they're really explosive.
Yeah, they got some weapons. So they're gonna be good. But that should be a great football game. Either way.
Yeah, Raekwon Williams and Miguel Willie are both sophomores, so D1 guys. And like I said, they're gonna have a lot of explosive. There's a lot of explosive players on both sides. So this game will be very interesting. Okay, I think we're both in agreement that Archbishop Schrummel and Catholic will advance in the next round. No disrespect to either program.
And it's every year. It seems like those every year. So it's going to happen again, of course. So Catholic and Schrummel.
Yeah, I just kind of been. I also say this: if 35 was in Division II select, I think they would be a quarterfinal team.
Yeah,
because that's where they were last year, and I think they just kind of got screwed. I think they kind of got screwed because they're just over their enrollment limit.
They fit more in Division II select. I think they would be a consistent contender if you put them in Division II select for sure.
Yeah, and East Jeff's a great program. There's just not. Coach Oliver's doing a great job with that program. Coach Glover's doing a great job with that program. Yeah. It's just that Catholic.
It's Catholic high.
It's Catholic. It's Catholic high. It's Catholic high. Like hard to pick against them. Acadiana and John Curtis. Do you have Acadiana winning that game?
Yeah, I saw John Curtis play last week, and I gotta say, I think Acadiana's going to struggle a little bit early on. I mean, I think it's going to be one of those games where it's going to be close. And because John Curtis, they got JT Curtis, they run the veer. This is the veer game. They know exactly what the veer is all about. But I think Acadiana is just a better team. They're going to find a way to really pull away late in this football game too. But I think early on, I think John Curtis is going to get them some trouble early on because of their defense and that they're used to playing the veer. But I think Acadiana is going to end up pulling away at the end.
Mm-hmm. Jesuit Turlins. That's the game. It's an upset bid. I have Acadian winning that game. I think Acadians could struggle early, like you said, but they're going to pull away because of because not only do they have a great explosive running attack, their passing game is phenomenal as well, even though they run the veer.
Yeah, and John Curtis' offense isn't at the level Acadiana's offense is. So I think that's why they're going to end up pulling away.
Yeah, exactly. It's just not John Curtis is usually pretty explosive out of the veer. This year they're not, and that's why you've seen a lot of the offensive problems they've had. Not only that, it's not only because they don't have the explosion the offense needed to run the veer. Well, they can run the veer great, but it's just that they don't have that explosive.
They move down the field. They don't, like you mentioned. I don't think they can hit the explosive play. Acadiana can do it. Acadiana can throw the ball out the field. So I think that's going to be the difference in that game. Acadiana can do it. I don't think John Curtis can.
I got the upset here. I got Jesuit beating Turlins. I think Jesuit has beaten some really good teams, and they played some great teams all throughout the year. They beat some great teams, and they've lost against some great teams in some close games as well. I'm going to pick the Jesuit Blue Jays to upset the Turlins Catholic Rebels. Jace, are you in agreement there?
I'm in agreement. Turlins Catholics had a great season. I think Coach Aponte's done an awesome job with this year's team. But I think, like I mentioned earlier, Jesuit's been a more battle tester this year, and they know what it's like to play great offenses. They've seen that in the car, So, and they gave in the car a lot of problems. So, with that being said, I like this Jesuit football team, and Ryan Manali has done it before. He's led Jesuit to a state championship. He led De La Salle when De La Salle was a bad program at the time to back-to-back state championship appearances. So and there's a guy to do it. Ramen Ali is. They've been a much better this year than were a year ago. And defensively has been a big reason why. I think Turner's Captain's going to struggle a little bit against this defense. So I'm with you. I'm gonna pick Jesuit to get the upset.
Mm-hmm. Next two matchups, you got St. Paul's and CE Bird, Evangel Christian Alexandria. Should be a toss right here. Jace. CE Bird has had a great year this year. CE Bird, in one of the tougher districts in all of high school football here in the state of Louisiana. Yeah. They finished the season 7-3. Their 3 losses were against Parkway. It's a great team. Parkway got eliminated, but Parkway for most of the year was a great team. Airline, of course, is Airline. I mean, they are they're the number 2 seed in Division I non-select. And then Captain Shreve, who just lost the first round to Evangel. They lost to Captain Shreve 34-42. But this Seabird is always giving teams some great problems in this bracket. They've had a lot of success in the playoffs. Given their fear attack, and they'll be going against St. Paul's. Brennan Combs been great all season long for this Wolves team. He's been the difference maker in why St. Paul's has had a lot of success. Do you see St. Paul's defeating CE Bird in Covington, or do you have CE Bird coming to South Louisiana and pulling off I guess you could say the upset because of the lower seed, where they'll take on the winner of Evangel Christian and Alexandria?
I think it's gonna be a low-scoring game, Grant. I know we pick on Shreveport a lot for not playing defense, but there's a team that can play defense up there. CE Bird can. So they're one of those teams that can play defense. They can run the football, like you mentioned, out the veer. They're tough. They're physical. This is a type of team that can make runs in the playoffs, and you saw why Mike Suggs has had a lot of success before Coach Ballou took the program over. But here, I would have probably gone with CE Bird, but the reason I'm going to go with St. Paul's is what you mentioned. It's the quarterback. I mean, Brendan Kahn being a senior quarterback, being a leader for this team. I'm not sure. I know you're following the Troy Willis situation to see how healthy he's going to be, and if not, I mean, they do have a really reliable back in Cody Corrales as well, but. I'm going to take the quarterback here, the veteran quarterback for St. Paul's. I think Bird's going to make it close. I think it'll be a low-scoring game. But being that veteran senior quarterback, I think he'll be the difference, and he's going to find a way to just power his team to a win, which should be a really good playoff matchup.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. I have to agree with you. I think St. Paul's will win a close one, and I think they'll take on Ash, who I think will win against Evangel Christian, but this game should be interesting because I think this could be definitely take the over for this game, Jace.
Oh, yeah.
Definitely take the over.
That's the opposite of CE Bird. That's the exact opposite of that. There's not going to be any defense here. A lot of offensive star power here. I mean, we talk about JT Lindsay for Ash. You got Pop Houston for Evangel, like you mentioned. A lot of offense here. Evangel got revenge on Captain Shreve last week. But there's going to be points scored. But both JT Lindsay and Carson Sellers, they're going to have theirs. I mean, Pop Houston, Damari Drake, Johnny Casey, they're going to have theirs too. But I trust Ash's defense to come up with that stop, that turnover, that extra play on defense. And they've been used to playing some higher scoring shootouts this year. So I'm going to go with Ash. It's going to be an entertaining football game. But I'm going to trust Ash's defense to come up with that extra stop.
Mm-hmm. Moving on to the Division II select bracket. Archbishop Shaw's the first seed, where they'll take on LaRanger. I think we're both in agreement that Shaw will defeat LaRanger. To move in the quarterfinals, we'll take on the winner of Lake Charles College Prep and John F. Kennedy. That should be a great one being played here in the state of New Orleans. Madison Prep will will welcome St. Charles Catholic. That should be another great one as well. And an upset bid, Jace. Shruma will take on Haynes Academy. That should be another upset bid right there. Haynes Academy's finished season 9-0. They will play against a very dangerous Shruma team. That's led by Coach Sid Edwards, who not only is leading Shruma back to prominence, but also is running for the mayor of Baton Rouge, which is a very interesting storyline. Yeah, I mean, he can win. He's in the runoff. So I mean, it's a crazy result going on in Baton Rouge. Not only for football and the Shruma, but also just politics in general. I mean, that's awesome. That's a real good. Yeah, go ahead.
No, I was just like, coach is going to politics this year. That's been an interesting storyline with Sid
So
Edwards, and we know Marcus Randall running for city council. So like coaches trying their hands at politics, changing things up.
yeah, so if he wins, who would take over as the head coach?
I feel like Byron Wade. It makes too much
Okay,
sense because he's at the
I got you.
program leading the way, and Marcus is actually just a disciplinarian. He's not even coaching on the team, so it's going to be Byron Wade if that's the case.
Okay, got you. Ed White would take on Livingston Collegiate. Ed White had the first run by. Livingston Collegiate came back from behind late to defeat Frederick A. Douglass, 19-18. I think we're both agreement that Ed White will win that game, and they'll take on the winner of Archbishop Hannon at Vanderbilt Catholic. Archbishop Hannon actually upset St. Michael 29-20. So, could Archbishop Hannon have another upset bid? Who knows? But Hayden Alonso is that guy.
Yeah, he's a dude.
That
Yep.
receiver for the Hawks. Yeah, he's a dude. He's
Yep.
definitely a dude. Leesville and Loyola Prep will play each other to play against Booker T. Washington of New Orleans, who, of course, was able to advance to the quarterfinals because of U High's.
Yeah.
That they lost a court case, and U High is officially out of the playoffs as they had to forfeit not only all their wins from the regular season, but also their second round game as well to finish the season 1-10. And that should be a very interesting one. But Jace, let's go. Let's actually start from here. Leesville and Loyola Prep.
Yeah.
Who you got?
I got Leesville. I mean, Loyola scored a lot of points. Their quarterback's actually one of our Gridiron Football Player of the Week nominees. He's only a sophomore, Bryce Rusovich. He's going to be a good one. He's going to be a good player for him down the road. But they're not going to be able to stop Xavier Ford. So they're not going to be able. Their defense ain't going. They gave up 44 points. So to be right. So they're going to give the ball a lot to Xavier Ford, and good luck Loyola Prep in trying to stop him. So I got Leesville moving on.
Yeah, Archbishop Hannon at Vanderbilt Catholic. You got Archbishop Hannon with another upset bid, or you have Vanderbilt Catholic winning that one?
Like you mentioned, Hayden Alonso is that dude. He is really good. He was another Player of the Week nominee for us this week. But I'm going to go with Jalen Coleman and Vanderbilt Catholic. It was a good story for Archbishop Hannon getting that playoff win, but that was only their second win this season. They were a one-win team entering the playoffs when they upset St. Michael. And St. Michael they've actually only had one playoff win in the program's history. So it's not against a team that, even though there was a higher seed and everything, hasn't won a lot of playoff games in the past. So I'm Vanderbilt Catholic, Jalen Coleman. I'm going to go with the Terriers here to win.
Mm-hmm. Both in agreement that Edie White will advance to the quarterfinals.
Yep.
Over
Should be a rematch
gotcha.
between Edie White and Vanderbilt Catholic, potentially.
Now the rivalry game. Hey.
Yep.
Estruma and Haynes Academy. Who you got?
I got the upset here. I got Estruma defeating Haynes Academy because I don't think Haynes Academy has a great story, right? Ben Powell's done an awesome job with that team. I think he deserves Coach of the Year, what they're able to do. But Haynes Academy's never been in this position. And I don't think they played a team as athletic as the one they're about to see in Estruma. Like you mentioned, they got a lot of really good athletes on their football team. One of them's a Southeastern commit. So they are fast and they're athletic. So I don't think Haynes Academy can keep up with that speed. So I'm gonna go with Estruma to get the upset.
Yeah, I'm gonna have to agree with you, Jason. I think Estruma's gonna get the upset. I do think it'll be a close game. Because I think, if any indication, allowing 44 points against Booker T. Washington Shreveport and Haynes Academy can score points, and they've proven that. The last 3 games of the last 3 games of the regular season, they put up 46, 68, and 45, so they can score it well. So if Estruma can slow down Haynes Academy's offense, they have a great chance of winning, but we do know Estruma has a great offense as well. Madison Prep and St. Charles, who you got?
That is a close one. I went back and forth with this one because, Wayne Stein, 5 straight state championship appearances for St. Charles Catholic. He's one of the best coaches there is. And St. Charles Catholics had a rough start to the season, but they're playing like you expect. St. Charles Catholic football, they're playing much better defensively. And also getting some of those guys healthy at the end of the season has really helped them. But I'm gonna go with Madison Prep. I probably would have otherwise gone with St. Charles Catholic, but I think Madison Prep is also playing pretty good football. I mean, they defeated U High we're talking about U High and their season and all that, not being able to play the playoffs, but Madison Prep beat them for the district championship. So they're playing really good football right now. Tylen Johnson's a veteran senior quarterback. I like these senior quarterbacks in these playoff brackets too. They got a lot of really good athletes as well on both sides of the football. So I'm going to go with Madison Prep at Olympia Stadium. Not making the drive the way they've been playing the last couple of weeks. It's hard to go against St. Charles Catholic, but I'm going to go Madison Prep at home.
Yeah, same here. I got Madison Prep winning a close game. I think it's going to be along the lines of like 21-14 or 17-14. St. Charles Catholic's defense is phenomenal. Yeah. Coach Weinstein has always been a great defensive strategist, a great defensive tactician. Mm-hmm. I think they'll do a great job slowing down this Madison Prep offense, but I think Madison Prep has the athletes to overcome St. Charles Catholic's defense. JFK and Lake Charles College Prep, who you got?
This is sneaky. This is a sneaky matchup because Lake Charles College Prep's always got great athletes. And I feel like on the field, as far as talent level, they can compete with JFK. But the biggest thing is what kind of JFK team we're going to see. If this JFK team does not beat themselves, sometimes this year, Grant, you've been pretty close to the program and you covered JFK a lot this year. Sometimes their worst opponent is themselves, is penalties, is mistakes. Yes. If they can clean that up and just play a clean game, I don't think they'll have too much trouble with Charles Prep. But if it's like the Sandmall game or the St. Paul's game or games like that early in the year, Lake Charles College Prep can beat them. So this can potentially be an upset. But I think JFK is going to be ready to roll, and I think they'll play a clean game at home. So I'm going to go with JFK.
All right, Jace, we're going to have to take another quick break. Of course, this is a live show, so I can't pause or anything. So, you already know it's a bathroom break for me. So, anyway, Jace, you have to get some time. If you got to go to the bathroom yourself, you got to take a stretch, do it. We'll be back very shortly. We are back. Sorry about the pause and the show. Yeah, that's the thing that sucks about live shows. That sometimes you got to go to the bathroom in the middle of the show. But luckily we're not ESPN. We're at my house, so we're able to do those type of things. Jace, we just wrapped up Division 2 select. Now we're on to Division 3 select. And before we get into that, we got a comment. Let's show Master Prep some real respect tonight. We always do. We just picked him to win. We just did. We just did. We just did.
Yeah, we did.
You know, we're just saying that St. Charles Catholic is a really tough
His
team.
son, by
That's
the
a
way,
really tough draw. Yeah, what? Go ahead.
Jason's son, by the way, is a really good safety. So, like, he actually helped help them to get that win over U High. So, like, yeah, he's a baller. So Jason's son, so give him a shout out there. He plays safety for Madison Prep.
Yeah, and yeah, just by the way, like it's like we did disrespect. I mean, I don't know what maybe some other people, but we've always given props.
Let's make sure. It was like let's make sure we get them right. Let's make sure we give them their flowers. And
yeah,
hey, we both picked them to win, and that's a good St. Charles Catholic team. So hopefully we didn't jinx them. That's probably you probably wanted us to pick against them because we could jinx them. So that's another thing about picking these games.
Yeah, and also that's really just an unfavorable draw. Really, I mean, St. Charles Catholic, they've been in the state championship the last 5 years.
Yeah,
and that's just a really and I know and the only reason why St. Charles Catholic's at the 12 seed is because they had a brutal start to the year. I think they started off the season like 0-5. So I mean, they had a brutal start to the season, and since then they've rebounded, they've gotten healthier, and they're playing their best football right now. So it's just a bad draw in general. I'm not saying that Madison Prep can't win that game. It's just a bad draw. It really is. But Dunham is the first seed. They will take on Parkview Baptist. It's just a rematch of from the game earlier in the year, the first game of the year where Dunham just absolutely destroyed Parkview. And it's the second year in a row where Dunham will take on Parkview Baptist in the second round of the playoffs after playing against them early in the regular season. The winner of that game will take on the winner of Lafayette Christian and Notre Dame. Bunkie will take on Amy in a very good game that's going to be played in Central Louisiana. I think Amy, this is an upset bid for sure. And Amy has, they have not only have the talent, but the size and speed necessary to play against a Bunkie team that has a lot of weapons, especially on the outside. Slaughter Community Charter, they won their playoff game against Thomas Jefferson. They will take on Jewel Sumner, and the winner of that game will take on the winner of Bunkie and Amite. Calvary Baptist will take on De La Salle in the battle of the Cavaliers. The only thing I can guarantee is that the Cavaliers will win this game. Pope John Paul II. Both teams' nicknames are the Cavaliers, by the way. Pope John Paul II will take on Episcopal. Jace, you can't really pick a winner here, so I'm going to let you discuss this game real quick.
Yeah, and Pope John Paul's had a great season this year. Coach Pygott does a great job with that team. Looking forward to seeing them in person. And they played some of the teams that we covered, like Northlake Christian this year, and DJ Jenkins is on that team, defensive end, committed to the bowl game this year. So they've had their best season in quite a long time, if ever. So a great season this year for Pope John Paul. Looking forward to seeing them. Episcopal is your typical Episcopal team, man. Wing T offense. Reed Chauvin's had a great season this year at the running back position after really being the sidekick the last 2 years to Braden George. He's the main feature back and has done an awesome job this year. And I think this is the best Episcopal defense I've covered. Chase Crescent having an all-state type of year at linebacker this year. Has done an awesome job there. Their linebacking core is awesome, man. I mean, Taj Callahan, Will Rebus, like that linebacking core is really good. This is probably the best defense I've seen from Episcopal since I started calling games. But the big thing here for this football game is the passing game, because if they get by Pope John Paul, they're going to have to work. I mean, the passing game is going to be the big thing because the winner of this game has to play Calvary Baptist, and they're going to score and put up a lot of points. So to see if they can work on that, and calling the Knights, hopefully they win. But yeah, we'll see. Pope John Paul's a really good football team this year, and that should be a really good football game. I expect it to be.
Definitely. And the reason why Chase can't pick the winner of this game is because he is the play-by-play announcer for Episcopal Athletics on VSN. So if you have VSN and you want to tune into a good football game, make sure to tune to Episcopal Pope John Paul II. It should be a really close game.
Yeah,
this is one of the games that have an upset bid right here. Pope John Paul II has some really good athletes on their team, including DJ Jenkins, and then also their quarterback, Blaze Rodriguez, who's a true dual threat quarterback. So I'm gonna pick Episcopal to win this game. Actually, do I have Episcopal to win that game? I don't remember. I think I don't know. Hold on, let me double check that because on my bracket, I picked Pope John Paul to win this game on my bracket. But I mean, it could go either way. Yeah, I could go either way. But I think once again, I think the difference will be how well does Pope John Paul's offense go against this Episcopal defense. It's really good. As you said, Jace. But they struggled against St. Helena. On my bracket, I did pick Pope John Paul too, but I'm also leaning towards Episcopal. It could go either way, Jace. Mm-hmm. It depends on which Episcopal team shows up that day.
Absolutely.
It really does. Because if Pope John Paul II can shut down Reed Chauvin like they shut down Harlan Berry to an extent, Pope John Paul II can win this game.
Absolutely. So, and I've seen games and college games where they've looked a little sluggish coming from a bye. They had to kick a game-winning field goal 10-7 to beat Loyola Prep actually 2 years ago, coming off the bye. So we'll see how fresh and after not playing a game in 2 weeks, see how Episcopal manages that at home.
And then we got Catholic New Iberia and Northwood Christian. That could be a sleeper game for sure. I mean, Catholic New Iberia's got a lot of talented players. Like Luke Landry comes to mind, veteran quarterback for the Panthers. Northwood Christian, they have Cam Castanave, one of the top running backs in his class for the class of 2026 out of the state of Louisiana. And then you have Darby Woods Charter against Newman to wrap all the games up for Division III select. So let's start off the top. I think we're both in agreement that Dunham will beat Parkview Baptist.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think that they're in revenge. They want this game a lot because that's the team that ended their season last year. So they're going to be hungry and motivated for that game even more.
Although they did get their revenge the first game of the year in an absolute butt whooping. I think Dunham beat go pull up the score right now. Dunham beat Parkview Baptist 46-0. So I'm pretty sure they already got their revenge. However, they want to make it
Parkview.
Yeah, I think they want to make it. I think they want to make it a little bit. They've already gained their revenge. Now it's time to gain their sweet revenge. I guess you could say that.
Yeah.
Notre Dame will play against Lafayette Christian in a rematch of a game that happened earlier this season. Lafayette Christian defeated Beekman Charter 72-0, and earlier this year, Notre Dame defeated LCA 42-28. Jace, do you see Notre Dame winning against Lafayette Christian again, or do you see Lafayette Christian getting the win and splitting the season series against the Pios?
Yeah, it's been weird because you would think that in some of these rematches that the team that lost would be winning in the playoffs, but that hasn't been the case in the playoffs. I mean, you looked at Walker defeated Dutchtown twice. John Curtis has defeated Brother Martin twice. So I'm going to go on that same trend here. Louis Cook, Notre Dame, it's hard to go against him. He's an absolute legend in the coaching profession in Louisiana. Now, LCA is scary. They're dangerous because they are explosive on offense, but I trust that Louis Cook and their game plan and their defense to make some plays and play time-consuming offense as well to keep away from LCA's offense as well. I know LCA has played a lot better down the stretch with I know they've kind of settled in their coaching situation, at least in the second half of the year, what they want to do. But I'm going to go with Notre Dame at home and continue this trend of like teams winning against really good teams twice in the season.
Yeah, Jace, I'm probably have to agree with you. I think Notre Dame's got this. I think Notre Dame, when they get to the playoffs, they become a completely different team. They ended the season after just having a 2-3 start. They won 4 of their last 5 games. Their only loss coming against Jennings in a 1-point loss to the Bulldogs. I think Notre Dame's going to continue that hot stretch in the playoffs, and they will advance to the quarterfinals. Will they play against Dunham? Or they could potentially they could potentially play spoilers for Dunham's potential state title run. Bunkie and Amy.
Mhm.
I think we're both in disagreement with this one.
Yeah,
I
we
have
are.
Amy going to the state championship. Bunky, I know you have Bunky going at least to the semifinals.
Yeah.
I think if I remember correctly, but you had Bunky win
Yeah,
this
I have
game.
money in the
Uh,
semi.
yeah. So why you have Bunky win this game?
Yeah, I think it's just I think they've learned their lesson last year. They played Episcopal last year. It was kind of a similar situation, right? Where they had a bye, they went 9-1, great regular season, had a great team, and then you lose to Episcopal after the bye. And I think that's stuck with this team. That's why I'm going with this game. This is a scary matchup because, like on paper, like you mentioned, Grant, Amy does scare me. I mean, they're big, they're physical, they can throw the ball downfield, kind of like Bunky. Bunky can make explosive plays in the pass game, but so can Jeremy Franklin and Amy. But I'm going to go with Bunky because I think this is a veteran group. This is a senior led group, and they are very too familiar of how the season ended last year, coming off a bye. I think they're going to be focused because of it because I think that's been the message all season long. And Dylan Compton at the quarterback position, Kyle Johnson, one of the best playmakers in the state of Louisiana. They're a great team. They've been steamrolling teams all year long. They're not going to do this against Amy. They won't have to earn it against Amy at home. But I think with the senior team, it's now or never. I think they're going to embrace that now or never attitude against Amy.
Mm-hmm. I'm picking AB to win this game. Of course, I had them going to be in the state runner. I'm picking AB for the simple reason. I kind of explained to you yesterday. I'm balling the boot.
Yeah.
I think that Amy. I think they just have the size, strength, speed, and athleticism to compete with teams like Bunky, who rely on their playmakers on the outside.
Yeah.
I think Amy is just bigger up front, and I think that will be beneficial against a team like Bunky. Um, and then also, and really, I mean, just this is a bad matchup in the first round, at the second round and a
Mhm.
half. I mean,
Yeah.
Amy is not your typical 12 seed. This is a
Right. Oh,
team
yeah.
that usually goes far in the playoffs. I mean, I can't remember the last time Amy hasn't gone to the quarterfinals. Amy is, the last time they went to the state championship 2021, where they defeated Manny. This Amy team, I mean, Amy's coaching staff is very familiar with making deep runs at the playoffs compared to Bunky. I think Amy's kind of built for this moment, compared to Bunky. And although Bunky did, yes, they were a highly seeded team last year, and he lost the second round. I think Amy. I just think if you look at the team, if you go to team by
Mhm.
team, I think Amy's just a better team. I know they got the two best players on the field with
Yeah.
Kyle Johnson and Dylan Compton. However, Amy has guys who basically have similar skill sets
Mhm.
to Bunky. They
Yeah.
just got the bigger names because of who they're getting recruited by.
Sure.
But I think Amy's going to win this game, and they'll.
I think it'd
It's
be
a
a great game to
possibility that they
watch.
can play Jules. It's gonna be a great game. I think it's gonna be the game of this bracket, in my
Yeah.
opinion.
Oh, yeah.
And Slaughter Community, and I think they'll play Joe Sumner in a rematch of the regular season game where Joe Sumner won in overtime,
Mhm.
29-27. Jace, I think we're both agreement that Joe Sumner will advance to the quarters.
Yeah, I'm in agreement there. Jules Summer won the football game, but don't be surprised. This Sora Char team has a tendency to punch you in the mouth early. Like they come in
Mhm.
really red hot. So I mean, that could happen. But I'm Jules Summer's gonna pull away from Sora Char at the end for sure.
Mhm. Definitely, Jace. Um, Now going to the bottom of the bracket. I think we're both in agreement that the Calvary Baptist Cavaliers will defeat the De La Salle Cavaliers.
Yes, that's actually my pick to win the championship again. I think Calvary's even better this year than they were last year when they went to the state championship game and won the state championship last year. So I got Calvary.
I think we're both in agreement that Newman will beat Darwin Woods.
Yeah,
If I remember. Yep. So
yeah,
let's talk about Catholic Derby and Northern Christian. What do you who do you got in this game? What makes this game so interesting?
yeah. I mean, you got some offensive stars in this game. I actually called Northlake Christian, and this was the most shocking game to me I've called all year long, Grant. Just because that game in the first half for Northlake Christian Episcopal, I thought that was going to go down to the wire. I mean, Northlake Christian was even winning at halftime. They got an interception of Zach Q right before halftime to preserve the lead, and they had all the momentum. The crowd was. I was like, this is going to be tough for Episcopal to win, and Episcopal just blew them out in the second half. That really shocked me how that game transpired. So they're a really good football team, though. Cameron Casnave and North Lake Christian, the Wolverines are a good football team. But I mean, Luca Blanc as well, Catholic Iberia, they can score as well. They defeated Notre Dame earlier this year. You talked about them starting 2-3 to start the season. That was one of their losses. And Catholic Iberia, I think they have the same motivation as Bunkie, right? They lost early in the playoffs. They got upset last year against Lake Charles Prep last year early in the playoffs. Veteran team, a senior-led quarterback. I think they're highly motivated to make sure that doesn't happen again. So I got Catholic Iberia.
Mm-hmm. Same here. I got Catholic Norbury to win this game based off the experience, and then also not wanting to make the same mistake as they did last year when they got upset in the first round by Lake Charles College Prep. Moving on, let's talk about this is the last bracket of the night before we wrap these up. Division 4 select, which I think in both of our opinions is the deepest bracket of the playoffs. So Vermilion Catholic, Westminster Christian, St. Martin's Episcopal, St. Edmund, Ascension Episcopal, and Kentwood, Southern Lab, and St. Fred's, Covenant Christian and Central Catholic, Washington Christian and Catholic Point Capee, Riverside Academy and Hamilton Christian, and Opelousas Catholic and Ascension Catholic. Jace, what's the most intriguing matchup of all these matches? But really, all of them are intriguing, to be honest with you.
You got a lot of really good matchups. That's why I alluded to earlier about we haven't seen many of these playoff matchups when it comes to you have to wait maybe quarterfinals, semifinals. You don't have to wait at all for this bracket. I mean, you got a lot of really good games from top to bottom. A game I'll just pick up. I'll talk about one game at the top of the bracket and one game at the bottom of the bracket that I'm looking forward to seeing the most. How about Catholic Point Compete hosting Washington Christian? I think if there was one team you asked, and I said this in Ball in the Boot as well, Grant. I think if there was one team that needed the bye, you talk about teams that need buys, team that don't need buys. I think a team that needed a bye was Catholic Point Compete. I thought they were tired. They found a way to grit out a win against St. Edmund, but all those guys were playing both ways. You saw them; they were 9-0, and they won district, but you saw them run out of gas against Opelousas Catholic to finish the season. So I thought this was a much needed bye week for Catholic Point Compete. And I tell you, it's going to be rocking. I mean, when I was over there to see that St. Edmund game, really the whole town of New Roads was there. And I'd never seen this before, Grant, that usually after the game, you go into you wait for the winning coach to talk to the team before you talk to them yourselves. And it's usually just you and maybe a couple other reporters. The whole town of New Roads was on the field. It was like Jesus talking to the apostles. You know, it was crazy. There, all the fans were there to watch Coach Carruth give a speech, like it was some sermon. It was insane.
Yeah.
But it was insane seeing that on the field. It's going to be an awesome atmosphere. But Washington Christian, you know, is battle tested. I mean, Stephen Fitzhugh, they're a state championship mindset. Don't pay attention to the 11 seed because this team is better than 11 seed. What's hurt them was their schedule this year, but they are once again a state championship caliber team under Stephen Fitzhugh. So seeing them on the road in a big environment in New Roads will intrigue me. And then the other game I'll talk about real quickly is St. Edmund and St. Martin's because the best player in its entire bracket is for St. Martin's, is on the field for St. Martin's, Harlan Berry. But St. Edmund, I think, has a better team. And they've been very explosive on offense this year. So seeing Harlan Berry against St. Edmunds in the playoffs, number one player, number one running back in the country, committed to LSU, see him against St. Edmunds, see how he performs in the big lights in the playoffs, that will also intrigue me as well.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, so let's start going through the games, Jace. A lot of big-time games.
Yeah.
Let's go from the top. Oh, of course, Vermilion Catholic. I think they're both in agreement that they're going to win against Westminster Christian.
Yep, I agree with you.
All right, St. Edmund, St. Martin's and St. Edmund. Who you got?
I'm gonna go with St. Edmund. I think St. Edmund is with Coach Shiver. He's a great football coach. They're gonna come up with a game plan to make sure that they limit the touches of Harlan Berry. And how you do that, you rely on your offense, you rely on Kane West running the football, Henry Summerlin running the football. They'll throw it if they need to, but they're going to lean on the ground game. That's the best chance you have. Make sure to win time of possession and limit the opportunities because Harlan Berry's going to score his touchdowns. You know that for a fact. But
Yeah.
limit the opportunities he has touching the football. For that reason, I'm gonna go with St. Edmund.
Yeah, I'm kind of back and forth with this scoring game, but I think I'm going to pick St. Edmund just because I think their plan is really just to keep the ball off St. Edmund's hands. Of course, that won't stop Harlan Berry from breaking up this occasional 70-yard touchdown run. When I mean occasional, I mean like probably every 10 plays. But it's gonna be key. I think I got St. Martin's to win, but I think it's going to be key for them to keep the ball as long as possible. And if Harlan Berry decides to break a long run, then he's let him break a long run. But you also want to make sure to keep the ball off St. Edmund's hands. And I think that would be play key in the second round matchup. Crescent Episcopal and Kentwood. Who you got?
I got Kentwood. I like actually the double-digit seeds in this playoff bracket just because of how deep this playoff bracket really is. I like Kentwood. Coach Blunt in his first year leading the program, even though it's his first year, he's been the OC for Coach Foster. He's been an experienced coach on the staff, so the players relate with him. They got a lot of talent. We know Kentwood's got speed. They've always got speed at Kentwood, and I think that's going to give Ascension Episcopal some trouble here. So I'm going to go with the upset here. I got Kentwood.
Yeah, same here. I got Kentwood winning that one and advancing to the quarterfinals, where they could potentially have a rematch with Southern Lab. I picked Southern Lab to upset St. Fred's. Jace, I know you're high on Southern Lab. I believe you had them upsetting St. Fred's as well.
Yeah, I have a rematch between Kentwood and Southern Lab. I think you'll see 12-13. As crazy as that looks, I think you'll see that in the quarterfinals. And I know there was a lower scoring game that Southern Lab won. I think it was 13-8 earlier this year, but a lot of great athletes, a lot of state championships. That's what you expect to see, Southern Lab and Kentwood battling out in the playoffs, and I think we'll see that again.
And that game would be played at Kentwood. Covenant Christian and Crescent Catholic, they will play each other in a rematch of the district title game that happened in Week 10. And Washington Christian and Catholic Point could be two really good, great games, Jace. Who you got in both those matchups?
I got Covenant Christian. I know Covenant Christian and Central Catholic played earlier this year, but Covenant Christian really, handled business against Central Catholic 25-7. And Central Catholic struggled offensively against Lincoln Prep. They only won the game 14-0. So Covenant Christian's been really dominant this year. 10-0. Jesse Turner, the former Ellender head football coach, done an awesome job. I think he's a nominee for Coach of the Year too. But Covenant Christian will handle business again. They won 25-7 the first time around. So I got Covenant Christian advancing. And then we talk about Catholic Point Capee and Washita Christian. I know it's a big game for Catholic Point Capee. Coach Groove has done an awesome job winning the district championship as well. But I like Washita Christian. They've been these type of big game environments. I know this isn't the most experienced Washita Christian team, but they've been around it. When you're around this Washita Christian program, you're a ball boy growing up. You watched it growing up. You know what it takes to go in the dome. So Stephen Fitzhugh, Washita Christian. I'm going to go with the Eagles to advance and get the upset on the road in a hostile environment.
And you had Covenant Christian win against Central Catholic, right? Just making sure.
Yep.
Okay, so I'm going to agree with you both games. Got Covenant Christian winning in the rematch of the Week 10 matchup between game that Covenant Christian did in fact win, and Washita. I got Washita Christian. Washita Christian is actually my pick to advance to the state title game. I'm still gonna hold. I still believe in that. I have Washita Christian and Covenant Christian go to the quarterfinals. Next two games, two kind of upset big games. I know Hamilton Christian has a great player, great quarterback at Javon Idle. Riverside, of course, is running back Deidre Glassy. Two dynamic players that you get a chance to see in the river parishes. And then also Opelousas Catholic and Crescent Catholic. That's going to be an upset bid. Opelousas Catholic can score a lot of points. So can Crescent Catholic. So it'll be very key for Crescent Catholic's defense to step up and make some big-time plays. And I'm pretty sure Opelousas Catholic doesn't want to allow Chad Elsie to rush over 400 yards and score 9 touchdowns. Once again in the second round. So, Jace, who you got in both games?
I mean, as you can tell, Grant, I like 7 seeds. I had Mangum making a run in the playoffs in the Dome, and I like Riverside Academy. They were in the Dome last year. The reason I like Riverside Academy is not only because of Detrick Glass, now they have a great running back, but Brock Bourgeois at quarterback. They got great weapons at wide receiver as well. They're balanced, and I think this is a type of bracket, Grant, that you're going to have to score some points. Like this is going to be with these offenses in this bracket, you're going to have to score some points. And I have really good confidence Riverside Academy will. Javon Vile, like you mentioned, Grant, that's a player to keep an eye out for the future. He is a star in the making. And but Hamilton Christian, they won kind of in a flukish way against St. John. There was one play, and my dad is helping Coach Trosclair over at St. John. There was one play where there was a fumble. St. John jumped on top of it. Then they pick it up, they fumble, and then Javon Vile saw the ball. Oh, the ball's still a fumble. I'm going to pick it up. He trucks a guy, jukes a guy, and scores a touchdown when it should have been a St. John recovery. So flukish things like that. That game should have been much closer, and it was 41-30. So Javon Vile is a really good player. He's going to make his plays, kind of like I talk about Harlem Berry. But I think their offense is going to keep up with Riverside Academy. So I got Riverside Academy winning that game. And I think this is a bad matchup for Opelousas Catholic, as indicated from last year. Opelousas Catholic barely survived, too, against Westminster Christian. They won 34-33. Had to barely survive that one. They're not going to keep pace. I know they're motivated to stop or at least slow down Chad Elsie, but that's easier said than done. I like Ascension Catholic and Chad Elsie to roll against Opelousas Catholic. And to be honest with you, I don't think it's going to be that close, to be honest with you. So I'm going to go with Ascension Catholic to advance to take on Riverside Academy, and that should be an awesome matchup in the quarterfinals.
Yes, and once again, I think that's going to be an upset bid. However, I'm going to pick Ascension Catholic to win that game over Opelousas Catholic, and I got Riverside winning against Hamilton Christian to have Riverside and Ascension Catholic to play each other in the quarterfinals, which should be an excellent matchup between two of the best running backs in the state. Jace, before we wrap this up, overall thoughts about the brackets we covered and what to expect this weekend.
A lot of craziness. You're going to have there's a lot of really good games. This show can easily make myself look stupid at the end of the day because there's potential for a lot of teams, a lot of upsets, a lot of teams that I picked to win, lose. I can definitely see that happen because I think this year is as good as what the LHSAA has done with the split since it started. I know there's like a bracket or two that it still works to be done, right? But for the most part, you got a lot of great second round matchups, and it feels like playoffs are finally here, Grant. And you got a lot of really good second round matchups, and we're here for a chance for the quarterfinals. And now, Grant, I talk to Travis Bourgeois all the time, and Coach Bourgeois tells me something every year. When you're practicing on Thanksgiving week, it comes from a good season to a great season. So if you're practicing on Thanksgiving week, you have yourself a special season, and a lot of these teams have that on the line for a chance to practice during Thanksgiving week.
Definitely, Jace. And also before we wrap things up, I also want to give a huge shout out to Alex Allison. And the reason why I'm saying a huge shout, I don't want to say a huge shout out, but give your thoughts and prayers. I think that's what I meant to say to his family. His mom is in the hospital right now. It's a very serious situation. Alex is, he hasn't appeared on this show, but he's a great intern for Gridiron football. I've come across him multiple times. Of course, we just did the show, Ball in the Boot, yesterday. And so that news came in not very much longer after that, or actually, I think it happened today, right, Jace?
Yeah, I got the news today. I appreciate that, Grant.
Mm-hmm. So I want to make sure to send your thoughts and prayers towards Alex's way. Absolutely. He's a great writer. He's done a lot of great work for Gridiron. So I just want to give a huge shout out on this show. So keep your thoughts and prayers. And Jace, you have anything else to say to wrap up the show?
Yeah, I appreciate that, Grant. I appreciate that a lot. Yeah, thoughts, prayers go out to the Allison family. Make sure to give them thoughts and prayers and condolences at this time. And hopefully she pulls through it. It's Alex's mom. And, prayers go out to them. and we know the power of prayer really helps. We are definitely with them at this time, and we'll continue to pray for them as they go through this. But I know that she's going to be in good hands for sure. So thoughts and prayers go out to them. And I appreciate Grant. I appreciate you having me on your show. It's been fun all year long, man. Looking forward to do this even more. As well as we have the Ball in the Boot show that will be up tomorrow. By the way, every Wednesday we're going to have Ball in the Boot up. So Grant was able to, at least for a couple brackets before he had to go, was on to talk about some brackets. So a lot of the same conversations we had here tonight. But we also had Daryl and Alex's thoughts on the brackets as well. They do a great job. So, just make sure to keep up with our content, gridironfootballusa.com. The bowl game is quickly approaching, and right now we got a couple of commits on our website. I'm a little bit behind because I get some parents saying, "Hey, when's our kid going to be announced?" Like, he's going to be announced pretty soon. So it's just a lot of player commits we got going on right now. But we got a lot of really good talent. A lot of those players we talked about on the show are actually committed to playing the bowl game. So we're pretty excited about that. So thank you, Grant. Thanks for having me on. And always great catching up with you on Friday nights in the Bayou.
Yeah, no problem. And thanks for coming on as much as you possibly can. And we're getting ready to start probably the busiest time for you. Of course, you guys have the Gridiron Football All-American Bowl game coming up. But once again, guys, Grant Chachere, your host of Friday Nights in the Bayou and the owner of Rougarou Sports Media. And also, I am a reporter and writer for CrescentSports.com, where you can find a lot of the best stuff written about the Saints, LSU, and of course, prep sports and prep football. Jace LeJeune of Gridiron Football, similar situation. Some of the best content in terms of high school football, recruiting, college football. I know they're starting to dive into some pro sports pro football as well. So some very interesting stuff in Gridiron Football as well. We'll see you guys on Friday.
Yeah.